Imagine a civilization that once ruled the rugged peaks of the Andes, leaving behind stone cities and secrets that have withstood the test of time. What happened to the mighty Inca Empire, and how do its echoes continue to shape the world today? The Inca civilization, one of the most fascinating empires of pre-Columbian America, rose from the rugged Andean mountains in South America. Its roots are deeply entwined with the early Andean civilizations, which had been laying the groundwork for centuries. Long before the Inca Empire flourished, the region was home to diverse cultures like the Nazca, Moche, and Wari. These societies were known for their advanced agricultural techniques, impressive craftsmanship, and complex religious practices, setting the stage for the rise of the Inca. In the early days, the Incas were just one of many groups in the highlands of Peru. Legend has it that the Inca civilization began with the god Viracocha, who created the world and ordered the sun and moon to give life to the first Inca rulers. According to Incan mythology, the sun god, Inti, sent the first emperor, Manco Capac, and his sister wife, Mama Oclo, to establish the Inca Empire at the city of Cusco. This myth not only emphasized their divine origins, but also cemented the central role of the sun in Inca life. The Incas, seen as direct descendants of Inti, believed their leaders had a divine mandate to rule over the land. The rise of the Inca Empire was not just a product of mythological favor, but also of military prowess and political skill. Early Inca rulers, such as Pachacuti, transformed a small kingdom into a vast empire. Under Pachacuti's reign, the Incas expanded their territory through military conquest and strategic alliances. His success in uniting the Andean tribes under one banner marked the beginning of the Incas' domination of the region. By the time of his grandson, Huayna Capac, the empire stretched from the northern reaches of modern-day Ecuador to central Chile in the south, a vast expanse that encompassed diverse landscapes and cultures. But the Incas did not just conquer lands, they built a society that was incredibly organized. Their state was deeply influenced by their religious beliefs, and the empire was structured to reflect their devotion to the sun god. Their emperor, known as the Sapa Inca, was considered the living representative of Inti on earth. Under the Sapa Inca's rule, the Incas built extensive road networks, created monumental agricultural terraces, and implemented advanced systems of tribute and labor. The legends and cultural practices surrounding the Inca Empire are still alive today in the hearts of many Andean peoples who continue to revere their Inca ancestors. While the empire itself fell to Spanish conquistadors in the 16th century, its influence on the region remains undeniable. From the agricultural techniques that transformed the landscape to the magnificent architecture of Machu Picchu, the legacy of the Incas continues to captivate the world. The story of the Inca is not only a tale of power and conquest, but also one of cultural resilience and innovation. The geography of the Inca Empire played a pivotal role in shaping its culture, economy, and military strategies. At the heart of the empire lay the mighty Andes Mountains, a vast mountain range that stretches along the western coast of South America. These towering peaks, with their snow-capped summits and steep valleys, served as both a physical barrier and a source of inspiration for the Inca people. The mountains were not just the backdrop to Inca life, they were central to their identity. The Incas revered the Andean landscape, believing that the mountains were sacred and that the sun god, Inti, had bestowed divine power upon them. The rugged terrain, with its extreme altitudes and harsh climates, also forged the Incas' resilience and ingenuity, influencing every aspect of their civilization. Adaptation to the diverse geography was a key factor in the Incas' success. The empire spanned a wide range of ecosystems, from the arid deserts of the coast to the lush jungles of the Amazon basin. In the highlands, where the empire's heartland lay, the Incas built agricultural terraces on steep mountainsides, turning otherwise uninhabitable land into productive farmland. These terraces, supported by an advanced irrigation system, allowed the Incas to grow crops at high altitudes, such as potatoes and maize, which became staples of their diet. The Incas also developed an extensive network of roads that wound through these challenging landscapes, enabling them to connect the diverse regions of their empire. This network of roads, known as the Capac Ñan, was one of the most sophisticated transportation systems in the ancient world and was crucial for maintaining communication and control over their vast territory. The geography of the Inca Empire also greatly influenced trade. The Incas controlled a wide variety of climates, each offering unique resources. In the coastal areas, the empire benefited from the wealth of the sea, including fish and salt, while in the highlands, they had access to precious metals, textiles, and agricultural products. The Incas developed a barter-based economy, where goods were exchanged through a system of reciprocity. The vast network of roads facilitated this exchange, allowing goods to move smoothly across the empire, from the coastal deserts to the fertile valleys and high-altitude plateaus. In some regions, the Incas established warehouses, or cuolcas, to store surplus goods, ensuring a stable supply of food and materials for their people, especially during times of drought or famine. Militarily, the geography played a crucial role in the Incas' strategies. The mountainous terrain made large-scale battles difficult, and the Incas capitalized on this by employing guerrilla tactics, using the landscape to their advantage. Their armies would strike quickly, using the high ground for ambushes and surprise attacks, often leaving their enemies overwhelmed and disoriented. The vast expanse of the empire also necessitated the use of local leaders, or curacas, who oversaw different regions, ensuring that each area could defend itself while remaining loyal to the Sapa Inca, the emperor. In all, the geography of the Inca Empire was more than just a backdrop. It was the foundation upon which their civilization was built. From their ingenious agricultural methods to their military strategies, the Incas turned the challenges of their environment into opportunities, creating one of the most powerful and enduring empires in the history of the Americas. Long before the rise of the Inca Empire, the Andean region was home to several remarkable civilizations that laid the foundations for the Incas' future success. These early societies, such as the Nazca, Moche, and Wari, each contributed unique cultural, technological, and agricultural advancements that influenced the Inca way of life. While the Inca may have been the most famous civilization in the Andes, they were not the first to thrive in this complex and diverse region. The societies that came before them paved the way for many of the practices, beliefs, and innovations that the Inca would eventually adopt and adapt. The Nazca civilization, which flourished between 100 BCE and 800 CE in the arid coastal region of southern Peru, is best known for its massive geoglyphs etched into the desert floor. These intricate designs, including images of animals, plants, and geometric shapes, continue to intrigue scholars to this day. The Nazca were also skilled artisans, producing finely crafted pottery, textiles, and jewelry. Their agricultural techniques were highly advanced, relying on an intricate system of underground aqueducts called puquios to bring water to their crops. This allowed them to cultivate the desert landscape, growing crops like maize, beans, and cotton. The Nazca's ability to manipulate water resources in such a dry environment foreshadowed the importance of irrigation systems in the future Inca Empire. The Moche, who lived along the northern coast of Peru from around 100 CE to 800 CE, were another important precursor to the Inca. Like the Nazca, the Moche excelled in agriculture, using irrigation to cultivate a variety of crops, including maize, beans, and squash. However, the Moche are perhaps most famous for their impressive ceramic artistry. Their pottery, often depicting detailed scenes of daily life, religious rituals, and animal imagery, reflects their sophisticated understanding of culture and symbolism. The Moche also constructed monumental adobe temples, such as the Huaca del Sol and Huaca de la Luna, which served as centers of religious and political life. The Moche's mastery of metalworking, particularly in gold and copper, was another technological achievement that influenced later Andean cultures, including the Inca. The Wari culture, which thrived from around 600 CE to 1100 CE, is often seen as a precursor to the Inca because of its emphasis on centralized political control and urban planning. The Wari built extensive road networks, connected by fortified settlements and administrative centers, a model the Inca would later adopt and expand upon. Their capital city of Wari, located in the Andean highlands, was a hub of political and religious life, with large-scale agricultural terraces that showcased their ability to manage the land. The Wari were also pioneers in the use of terrace farming and water management, techniques that would become crucial to the Inca Empire's success. Agriculture was the lifeblood of these early Andean societies, and their innovations in farming techniques laid the groundwork for the Inca. The use of terraces and irrigation systems allowed these civilizations to thrive in the difficult Andean environment. Crops like maize, potatoes, quinoa, and cotton were cultivated, and the domestication of animals like llamas and alpacas provided both food and transportation. The importance of agriculture to these societies cannot be overstated, as it not only sustained their populations, but also helped shape their religious and social structures. The Inca, inheriting these agricultural practices, would further refine them and integrate them into their own empire, ensuring their dominance in the Andean world. In conclusion, the Nazca, Moche, and Wari civilizations were more than just precursors to the Inca. They were the creators of a cultural and agricultural legacy that would serve as the backbone for the Inca Empire. The Inca were able to build upon the achievements of these early societies, incorporating their knowledge of agriculture, irrigation, and urban planning into their own vision for an expansive empire. Cusco, the heart of the Inca Empire, holds a place of immense symbolic and historical significance. It was here, in the fertile valley of the Andes, that the foundations of one of the most powerful empires in pre-Columbian America were laid. The city's origins, shrouded in myth and legend, are deeply intertwined with the rise of the Inca people. According to Inca mythology, Cusco was founded by the first Inca emperor, Manco Capac, who, along with his sister and wife Mama Oclo, emerged from the sacred waters of Lake Titicaca to bring civilization to the region. This divine origin story established Cusco not only as the political capital, but also as the spiritual center of the empire. In its early years, Cusco was a small, humble settlement. It began as a modest village in the 12th century, initially ruled by the powerful Aymara-speaking tribes that controlled the highlands of the Andes. However, it was not long before the city began to expand its influence under the leadership of the Inca rulers. In the beginning, Cusco was one among many tribal confederations in the region, each vying for dominance over the others. The early Inca were one of many small groups fighting for supremacy in the fragmented Andean world, facing fierce competition from other local tribes, such as the Chancas and the Quilques. The consolidation of power came through a combination of military might, strategic alliances, and an evolving political system. As the Inca expanded their territory, they employed a blend of diplomacy and force to bring surrounding regions under their control. Their ability to forge alliances with smaller tribes was critical, as it not only increased their manpower, but also provided them with valuable resources and knowledge of the land. The conflict with the Chancas in particular stands out as a defining moment in the rise of Cusco. The battle, fought in the early 15th century, saw the Inca, under the leadership of Pachacuti, the ninth emperor, decisively defeat their rivals, cementing Cusco's dominance in the region. This victory laid the groundwork for the Incas' imperial expansion, setting the stage for their eventual control over much of the Andean highlands and beyond. Cusco's significance extended far beyond its role as a political and military center. It was also the symbolic heart of Inca identity, embodying the empire's values, beliefs, and cosmology. The city itself was meticulously planned and designed to reflect the Incas' worldview, with its layout and architecture aligned with their spiritual understanding of the world. Cusco was divided into several districts, each associated with different aspects of Inca society, such as religion, agriculture, and military affairs. The center of the city was home to the Coricancha, the Temple of the Sun, where the most sacred of rituals were performed in honor of Inti, the sun god, who was the most revered deity in Inca religion. The temple was decorated with sheets of gold, and the courtyard was filled with golden statues and offerings. Cusco's symbolic importance was such that it was often referred to as the navel of the world, with its streets and structures representing the physical and spiritual center of the Inca universe. In conclusion, the rise of Cusco was both a political and spiritual journey. What began as a small settlement in the Andean highlands transformed into the heart of an empire, symbolizing the power, unity, and divine favor of the Inca rulers. The city's foundation, surrounded by myth, was solidified through early tribal conflicts and the consolidation of power under the leadership of the Inca. Over time, Cusco came to represent more than just a city. It became the embodiment of Inca identity, a place where the physical and spiritual worlds converged, and from which the Inca Empire would expand its influence across the Andean region. Pachacuti's rise to power marked the beginning of a profound transformation for the Inca Empire, turning it from a small, isolated kingdom into one of the most powerful empires in the Americas. Before his reign, the Inca were just another highland tribe, engaged in constant struggles for dominance in the Andes. However, Pachacuti, whose name means "he who remakes the world," revolutionized the Inca state, laying the foundation for an empire that would span over 500 miles along the western coast of South America. Pachacuti's ascent to the throne is steeped in legend. It is said that he was not the initial heir to the throne, but when his father, the Inca king, fell ill, it was Pachacuti who proved his valor and leadership during a critical battle. As the Chancas, a rival tribe, advanced toward Cusco, it was Pachacuti's military ingenuity and courage that turned the tide in favor of the Inca. His decisive victory against the Chancas not only solidified his rule, but also demonstrated his exceptional military acumen, earning him the title of Sapa Inca, or the sole ruler of the Inca people. With his newfound power, Pachacuti set out to transform the Inca state into a formidable empire. His first priority was the expansion of Inca territory, which he achieved through a series of military campaigns. Under his leadership, the Inca launched a rapid and successful series of conquests, stretching their control over vast regions from the highlands of the Andes to the coastal deserts of Peru, and even into present-day Ecuador, Chile, and Argentina. The conquest of these lands was not merely about territorial acquisition, but about integrating diverse cultures into a cohesive empire. Pachacuti was not only a skilled warrior, but also a master of diplomacy, forging alliances with local leaders while simultaneously incorporating them into the Inca political system. Perhaps one of the most important elements of Pachacuti's rule was his creation of the Sapa Inca's divine authority. Unlike previous leaders who had ruled by force alone, Pachacuti elevated the role of the Sapa Inca to one of divine sanction, linking the ruler's authority directly to the gods. He presented himself as the direct descendant of the sun god, Inti, and crafted a belief system that framed the Inca Empire as the earthly manifestation of divine order. This made the Sapa Inca not only the political leader but also a spiritual figure whose decisions were seen as the will of the gods. This divine status greatly reinforced his power and that of his successors, making any challenge to the Inca's authority a challenge to the divine will itself. Pachacuti's reign laid the groundwork for the Inca Empire's future success. His military conquests expanded the empire's borders, while his establishment of divine authority ensured stability and legitimacy. Under his leadership, the Inca Empire became a well-organized, centralized state, where a sophisticated system of roads, tribute, and governance supported the vast empire he had created. The transformation of the Inca state under Pachacuti was nothing short of extraordinary, and his legacy as the architect of the Inca Empire would shape the empire for generations to come. Inca society was a highly structured and stratified system, where each individual had a defined role, and the smooth functioning of the empire depended on the cooperation of its different classes. The division of society was clear-cut, with the nobles and priests occupying the upper echelons, followed by skilled artisans and workers, and finally, the farmers, who formed the backbone of the economy. At the top of this hierarchy was the Sapa Inca, the divine ruler, followed closely by a small group of noble families known as the Inca, or Hanan, who had direct connections to the royal family and held positions of power. This aristocracy played a crucial role in governing the empire and maintaining its laws and traditions. They also acted as intermediaries between the people and the divine, reinforcing the sacred authority of the Sapa Inca. Beneath the nobles were the priests, who had a special role in Inca society. They were the keepers of religious knowledge and rituals, ensuring that the connection between the people and the gods remained strong. Temples dedicated to the sun god, Inti, and other deities were scattered across the empire, and the priests played a central part in maintaining these sacred spaces. Their responsibilities extended beyond religious ceremonies. They were also involved in the administration of state affairs and in the training of the next generation of leaders and spiritual guides. Priests were considered to be above other workers and artisans, but still, their power was rooted in their ability to serve the gods and, by extension, the Sapa Inca. Below the religious elite were the artisans, who were highly respected for their skills in crafting goods, ranging from fine textiles to intricate metalwork and pottery. While the artisans were not of noble birth, their craft was vital to the economy and culture of the empire. Inca craftsmen were considered to be the keepers of a great tradition, passed down through generations. They were responsible for creating the luxurious items that adorned the royal courts and temples, as well as practical objects that helped sustain the daily life of the empire. Many of these artisans worked in state-run workshops where their products were distributed to the elites and used in religious ceremonies, trade, and tribute. At the base of the social pyramid were the farmers, who provided the essential food supplies that sustained the empire. The Inca economy was largely agrarian, with the majority of people working the land in various capacities. The land was collectively owned by the state and divided into ailes, or family units, which were responsible for managing agricultural production. The ailu was the basic social and economic unit in Inca society, and each member contributed to the community's well-being. It was within the ailu that the labor systems were most pronounced, with individuals working together to maintain the crops, raise animals, and care for the land. The labor system was organized around mita, a form of corvée labor that required citizens to work on state projects, such as agricultural work, road construction, or military service, for a set period each year. This system allowed the Inca Empire to mobilize a vast labor force for large-scale construction projects and military campaigns. While the mita was seen as a civic duty, it also helped to maintain social order and ensure that the empire's needs were met. Inca society, though rigid, allowed for a certain amount of mobility within the hierarchy, particularly for those who excelled in their skills or served the state effectively. The structure of society was designed to keep the empire functioning smoothly, with everyone contributing to the greater good. Each class, from the Sapa Inca to the farmers, played a crucial role in the empire's success, creating a complex web of interdependence that helped sustain one of the largest empires in the ancient world. You are now going to write this chapter. Make it max 500 words long. Do not include bullet points or chapter heads. Make sure to write in the same tone and writing style as example. The Inca religion was deeply intertwined with every aspect of their daily life, from agriculture to politics. At its core was the belief in a pantheon of gods who controlled the natural world, human affairs, and the fate of the empire. Chief among these deities was Inti, the sun god, who was considered the most important figure in the Inca belief system. Inti was believed to be the ancestor of the Inca rulers, with the Sapa Inca himself being regarded as the direct descendant of the sun. The sun was seen not only as a symbol of life, but as a force that provided warmth and energy necessary for crop growth, especially maize, the staple food of the empire. The solar calendar governed the timing of religious ceremonies, and the most important of these were held at the solar festivals, which marked the changing of the seasons. Alongside Inti, the Inca people revered Pachamama, the earth goddess, who was considered the mother of all life and the protector of crops. She represented the fertility of the land, and her worship was essential for agricultural success. Offerings to Pachamama, including food, chicha, a fermented drink, and ceremonial pottery, were made to ensure a bountiful harvest. There was also Viracocha, the creator god, who was believed to have created the world and all its beings. Viracocha was associated with creation, the sea, and the forces of destruction, and he was often worshipped in temples dedicated to his power and omnipotence. Rituals and sacrifices played a significant role in Inca religious life. The Incas believed that they must appease their gods with offerings to maintain the balance between the natural and divine worlds. One of the most sacred practices involved sacrifices, which were seen as a way of returning the favor for the blessings bestowed by the gods. While animal sacrifices were common, the most sacred offerings were made by humans, particularly children. The practice of child sacrifice, known as kapak hucha, was carried out during times of crisis, such as natural disasters or military campaigns, where the Inca believed that the gods required the purest of offerings. These sacrifices were typically made at high-altitude shrines or on mountaintops, as the Incas believed that the gods resided in the mountains, close to the heavens. Festivals were also an integral part of Inca religion, with the Inti Raymi, Festival of the Sun, being the most famous. Held during the winter solstice, this festival celebrated the sun's return and marked the beginning of the new agricultural cycle. The Sapa Inca led grand ceremonies in Cusco, where elaborate rituals were performed in honor of Inti, and large crowds gathered to watch dances, music, and feasts. These festivals reaffirmed the divine right of the Sapa Inca and reinforced the unity of the people. Inca religion was also centered around the cult of ancestors. The huacas were sacred objects or places that represented the spirits of the ancestors, and many shrines, both within homes and in the countryside, were built in their honor. The Incas believed that their ancestors continued to protect and guide them from the afterlife, and regular rituals were performed to honor their spirits. The tombs of the emperors were especially important, as these mummified rulers were thought to still exert authority over the living and provide spiritual protection. The role of religion in Inca society was not only to explain the natural world, but also to legitimize the power of the Sapa Inca and maintain social order. By intertwining politics with divine favor, the Incas ensured that the will of the gods and the emperor were seen as one. Religious beliefs and practices were deeply embedded in the daily lives of the Inca people, shaping their relationships with the land, the gods, and each other. The Inca calendar was central to the rhythm of daily life in their vast empire, intricately linked to agriculture and religious observances. Unlike the Gregorian calendar, which divides the year into 12 months, the Inca calendar was based on the solar and lunar cycles, with a keen focus on the movements of celestial bodies. This calendar system allowed the Incas to manage their agricultural activities with precision, dictating when to plant and harvest crops such as maize, potatoes, and quinoa. The agricultural cycle was directly tied to the sun's position in the sky, with planting seasons timed according to the solstices and equinoxes, ensuring that crops were grown at the most optimal times. At the heart of the Inca calendar was the Inti Raymi, the festival of the sun, which marked the winter solstice. This event, considered the most important in Inca religion, celebrated the sun's return and its rejuvenating energy. The calendar also divided the year into two main agricultural seasons: Runa Kamai, time of the people, for cultivation, and Kwapak Kamai, time of plenty, when the harvest was reaped. Both of these cycles were determined by observing the position of the sun, with priests and astronomers holding significant influence over these decisions, ensuring that every religious ritual was conducted at the right moment. The Incas also achieved remarkable innovations in timekeeping and astronomy. They developed an advanced understanding of the movements of the stars, planets, and other celestial bodies, which were integral to their ability to predict the seasons and synchronize important festivals. The Incas constructed observatories, most famously at the site of Machu Picchu, where the positioning of structures aligned with the movements of the sun and stars. These observatories were carefully designed to track the equinoxes, solstices, and lunar cycles. They used simple but effective tools like the Intihuatana stone pillar, used to track the sun's position at various times of the year. These astronomical tools served both practical and spiritual purposes, guiding agricultural practices and reaffirming the divine nature of the rulers, who were seen as the earthly representatives of the gods. Celestial bodies held deep meaning in Inca mythology, with stars and planets believed to be deities themselves. The most important of these was the sun, Inti, but the moon, stars, and even the Milky Way were also revered. The Incas associated certain constellations with their gods and ancestors, considering the night sky a reflection of the divine order. The Milky Way, for example, was seen as the celestial river, a spiritual bridge that connected the living with the gods. It was a pathway through which the souls of the dead traveled to the afterlife, linking the human world to the divine realm. Similarly, the Inca viewed the bright star system of the Pleiades, known as Quolca, as a symbol of their ancestors' spirits. The positioning of the stars and planets, therefore, held not only a practical significance for timekeeping, but a spiritual one, as it reinforced the Incas' connection to their gods and their ancestors. The stars were not simply distant lights in the sky, but intimate companions in the Incas' journey through time. Agriculture was the cornerstone of the Inca economy, essential not only for sustaining the empire's vast population, but also for supporting its ambitious political and military enterprises. The Incas' mastery of agricultural techniques allowed them to thrive in the diverse and often challenging geography of the Andes. At the heart of this success was the sophisticated system of terraced farming, which transformed the steep mountain slopes into arable land. By building terraces, the Incas were able to mitigate the erosion that plagued the highland environment, ensuring that crops could be grown at higher altitudes where flat land was scarce. These terraces were reinforced with stone walls, and the Incas' ability to adapt this method to various climates and altitudes allowed for the cultivation of a wide range of crops, including maize, potatoes, quinoa, and coca. Alongside terracing, the Incas developed an advanced irrigation system that further boosted agricultural productivity. They constructed an extensive network of canals, aqueducts, and reservoirs that channeled water from the mountains to the crops below. In many regions, especially in the arid coastal areas, this irrigation system was the difference between survival and failure. The careful management of water resources was a crucial aspect of the Inca agricultural system, and it allowed them to expand cultivation in regions that would otherwise have been too dry or rocky to support crops. The Incas also practiced crop rotation and selective breeding, ensuring the soil remained fertile and productive over generations. This allowed them to sustain not only the immediate needs of the population, but also the imperial armies and the ruling elite. The Inca economy was further supported by a system of trade and tribute that extended throughout their vast empire. While the Incas did not develop a currency, they maintained economic exchange through the flow of goods, including textiles, ceramics, foodstuffs, and metals. Regional leaders were required to provide tribute to the Sapa Inca, the emperor, in the form of goods or labor. This tribute helped maintain the empire's centralized structure, ensuring that the emperor had the resources to support military campaigns, religious ceremonies, and the construction of monumental architecture. Central to the Inca economy was the mita labor system, a form of communal labor that obligated each household to contribute a certain amount of work to the state. This labor was not compensated with wages but was instead seen as a form of tribute to the emperor. The mita system was used for a wide range of tasks, from agricultural work on state farms to labor on public projects such as roads, bridges, and temples. It allowed the Incas to mobilize large numbers of workers for the empire's grand construction projects and military campaigns, providing the state with a steady supply of labor. The mita system was critical to the functioning of the Inca state, as it enabled the central government to control the distribution of labor across the empire, ensuring that resources were allocated efficiently to maintain the empire's vast infrastructure and military presence. In essence, the Inca economy was a complex and interconnected system that relied heavily on agriculture, resource management, and communal labor. The Incas were able to build an empire of unprecedented scale in the Andes because of their ability to harness the potential of their land through innovation in farming techniques and their ability to organize and manage the labor of millions of people. The roads of the Inca Empire were one of the most remarkable achievements of their civilization, a vast network that connected every corner of the empire and facilitated its administration, military operations, and trade. Spanning over 25 miles, the Inca road system was the backbone of their empire, linking the coastal regions, highlands, and jungle areas. This intricate network was designed with remarkable precision, utilizing the diverse geography of the Andes. The roads were often paved with stone, wide enough to accommodate multiple travelers, and built to endure the harsh environmental conditions of the region. In some places, the roads climbed steep mountain passes, while in others, they traversed deserts and jungles, showcasing the Incas' ability to adapt their infrastructure to the challenging landscapes. The road system was not only an engineering marvel, but also a vital part of the Inca state's ability to maintain control over such a vast territory. The roads facilitated communication and trade across the empire, enabling goods, people, and information to flow efficiently from one region to another. The roads served as highways for merchants, transporting everything from agricultural products to textiles and precious metals. Trade routes were well established, and goods moved freely between regions, contributing to the Incas' economic prosperity. More than just trade, the roads also enabled the swift movement of military forces, allowing the Inca to respond quickly to threats or internal revolts. Military campaigns could be launched with remarkable speed, as the roads ensured that soldiers and supplies could be quickly transported to strategic locations. Maintaining communication across such a vast empire posed significant challenges, but the Incas developed an efficient system to address this. At the heart of this system were the chasqui, trained runners, who acted as the empire's messengers. These runners would travel the roads, often carrying quipus, not records, or messages between distant parts of the empire. The chasqui were incredibly skilled and could cover vast distances in a short time, utilizing relay stations placed along the roads to rest and pass on messages to the next runner. This system of communication was crucial to the cohesion of the empire, as it allowed the Sapa Inca and his officials to maintain control and issue orders across the entire territory. The chasqui were revered for their speed and endurance, often running day and night to ensure that information reached its destination without delay. In addition to the roads and chasqui, the Inca also built tambos, or way stations, along the routes. These were rest stops where travelers could find food, shelter, and fresh supplies. The tambos played a vital role in the logistics of the road system, providing support to traders, soldiers, and messengers alike. The Inca road network, with its combination of engineering, communication systems, and support infrastructure, was an essential component of the empire's success, ensuring that the Sapa Inca could govern effectively, maintain military power, and foster trade throughout the empire. The Inca military was a well-organized and disciplined force, crucial to the empire's expansion and its ability to maintain control over vast territories. At the heart of the Inca military structure was a highly centralized command, with the Sapa Inca himself serving as the supreme leader of the armed forces. The army was divided into units called uklu, with each unit comprising thousands of soldiers. These soldiers were mostly drawn from the empire's conquered peoples, integrated into the military system through a combination of compulsory service and incentives. Training for the Inca army began at a young age, with the young men taught not only combat skills, but also the importance of loyalty and discipline. The Inca military emphasized organization, unity, and speed, allowing it to operate effectively over the diverse and often difficult terrains of the empire. One of the most significant features of the Inca military was its ability to incorporate conquered peoples into its ranks. When the Inca expanded their empire, they often spared the local population, instead conscripting them into the military. This practice allowed the Inca to quickly build an army large enough to conquer and control vast regions. The newly integrated soldiers were often trained alongside experienced Inca warriors, learning the techniques and strategies that made the army so formidable. This not only strengthened the Inca military, but also helped to solidify the loyalty of the conquered peoples to the empire. They were given a sense of shared purpose, fighting for the prosperity of the Inca rather than as subjects of a foreign power. The Inca employed a variety of military strategies, adapting to the unique challenges posed by the Andean highlands, the coastal deserts, and the Amazonian jungles. Their tactics were often based on swift, decisive actions that aimed to overwhelm their enemies quickly. The Inca army was famous for its use of disciplined formations, with soldiers fighting in tightly organized groups that made it difficult for opponents to break their lines. They also used a large number of slingers and archers, as well as soldiers armed with clubs, spears, and the iconic chacana, a large stone-headed mace. The Incas' strategic use of terrain, particularly in mountainous areas, gave them an edge over many of their enemies. During the height of the empire, the Inca army engaged in numerous major battles and conquests, expanding the empire from its origins in the Andean highlands to encompass vast territories that stretched from present-day Ecuador to Chile and Argentina. One of the most significant battles of the Inca Empire was the conquest of the Chimu kingdom in the 15th century, which marked a turning point in the Incas' territorial expansion. Similarly, the Inca campaigns in the southern and northern regions solidified their dominance and paved the way for further annexations. Despite their military prowess, the Inca preferred to incorporate rather than destroy, offering conquered peoples the opportunity to join the empire under the protection of the Inca state. This policy of integration and mutual benefit allowed the Inca Empire to flourish as a unified political entity, with a powerful military at its core. Inca architecture and engineering were feats of ingenuity that allowed the empire to thrive despite the challenging Andean geography. The Incas were master builders, known for their exceptional stonework and advanced construction techniques. The hallmark of Inca architecture was the precise fitting of stones, often without mortar, which allowed buildings to withstand the frequent earthquakes of the region. The stones were cut to such perfection that they fit together so tightly that not even a knife could fit between them. This technique not only ensured durability but also demonstrated the Incas' deep understanding of materials and their ability to adapt to the environment. Machu Picchu, one of the most famous Inca sites, is a testament to the empire's architectural brilliance. Perched high in the mountains, it is an ancient city built with skillful stone masonry and complex water systems. The construction of Machu Picchu required precise planning, and its location on a steep mountain ridge was carefully chosen to align with astronomical and spiritual significance. Similarly, the Inca site of Sacsayhuaman near Cusco showcases the empire's ability to build massive, perfectly fitting stone walls that have stood the test of time. The intricately cut stones, some weighing several tons, were arranged in zigzag patterns, which was not only visually striking, but also helped to stabilize the structure against seismic activity. Ollantaytambo, another remarkable site, was designed as both a military stronghold and a religious center. Its terraces, ceremonial platforms, and grand stone walls highlight the Incas' prowess in adapting the landscape for both defense and spiritual purposes. Inca architecture extended beyond just their iconic stone structures. Their innovations in agriculture and urban planning were equally impressive. The Incas developed an intricate system of terraces to cultivate crops in the steep mountain valleys. These agricultural terraces, built into the mountainsides, allowed the Incas to farm at high altitudes where most other civilizations would have struggled. Advanced irrigation systems were used to ensure that the terraces received water, making the most of every drop in an often dry climate. This agricultural ingenuity supported the growing population of the empire, ensuring that the food supply remained stable despite the challenges posed by the rugged terrain. The urban planning of Inca cities also reflected their architectural genius. Cities like Cusco, the capital, were meticulously organized with wide streets, plazas, and temples. The Inca road system connected all parts of the empire, and the urban layout ensured that the government could efficiently administer the vast territories under its control. Centralized buildings, such as temples and palaces, were placed in strategic locations to serve both political and religious purposes, while residential areas were designed to accommodate the diverse peoples of the empire. The Incas' ability to integrate their architecture into the natural landscape while meeting practical needs is a testament to their advanced understanding of both engineering and the environment. Their lasting legacy in architecture and engineering continues to be admired for its precision, functionality, and adaptability. In Inca society, women held a respected and essential role, though their status was largely determined by their social class and their relationship to the state and religion. At the heart of Inca culture was the concept of balance, and women, alongside men, were vital in maintaining this equilibrium. Women's primary roles revolved around domestic duties, including caretaking and weaving. The art of weaving was particularly revered in Inca society, where textiles were not only a sign of wealth, but also held deep spiritual significance. The women who wove these textiles were highly regarded, as the intricate patterns they created were believed to represent the connection between the human world and the divine. Women were also expected to manage household duties, which included the preparation of food and care for children. In rural areas, women played a direct role in agriculture, working alongside men in the fields. They participated in the cultivation of crops, including potatoes, corn, and quinoa, which were staples of the Andean diet. While men tended to the more physically demanding aspects of farming, such as plowing and harvesting, women's labor was no less important in ensuring the survival of their communities. This division of labor was carefully balanced, reflecting the Inca understanding of complementary roles within society. In the realm of religion, women held a significant and respected position, particularly in the form of the Aklas, or chosen women. These women were selected from the most promising and noble families across the empire to serve the sun god Inti and the Sapa Inca. Their primary role was to maintain the religious rituals that honored the gods, especially through weaving sacred textiles, preparing food offerings, and performing rituals in temples. The Aklas lived in seclusion, trained in various sacred arts, and were dedicated entirely to religious service. Their role was so important that they were considered to be the wives of the sun god, and their spiritual purity was essential to the maintenance of divine favor. The chosen women also contributed to the state's welfare, as they were often involved in the production of ceremonial garments for the elite and sacred objects for religious ceremonies. In many ways, the Aklas represented the ideal of female virtue in Inca society, embodying purity, devotion, and cultural continuity. Although the Aklas were expected to remain celibate during their service, some would later be given to high-ranking men as wives after their term of service. These women had a profound impact on the spiritual and political life of the Inca Empire, as they were deeply integrated into the Inca religious and societal framework. Despite the gendered divisions in their roles, women in Inca society were never considered inferior. Their contributions to daily life, religion, and the maintenance of the empire were indispensable. The complex interplay of gender roles, from the domestic to the divine, reflects the Incas' deep reverence for balance and their recognition of the central importance of women in the sustaining of both the human and spiritual worlds. The chasqui, or Inca runners, were one of the most vital components of the Inca Empire's vast and sophisticated communication network. The empire, stretching over 500 miles of rugged terrain, required an efficient system to relay messages, orders, and important goods from one end to the other. The chasqui fulfilled this role with remarkable precision, running tirelessly across mountains, through valleys, and across deserts to ensure the empire's infrastructure and governance remained connected. These runners were highly trained individuals, often selected for their stamina, speed, and mental endurance. The chasqui were part of a larger network that spanned the entire empire, operating along the Inca roads, which were the best-maintained system of roads in the ancient world. Each chasqui was assigned to a specific stretch of road and would carry messages or goods to the next runner stationed further along the route. This relay system allowed information to travel incredibly fast, despite the empire's immense size. Messages were typically carried on quipus, the Inca system of knotted strings used for record-keeping and communication. The chasqui would often run with a quipu or verbal instructions and pass them on to the next runner at specific intervals. The runners would carry the message to the next chasqui station, where they would receive the next message, or continue with the delivery of goods, such as textiles, ceremonial items, or even military orders. The network ensured that the emperor, or Sapa Inca, could communicate directly with all parts of the empire, from the highlands to the coast. No matter how remote the area, the endurance required of the chasqui was extraordinary. They were able to run at incredible speeds over long distances, with some estimates suggesting that a well-trained chasqui could cover up to 150 miles in a single day. Their training was rigorous, involving a combination of physical conditioning and mental preparation. They were accustomed to running in the high-altitude climate of the Andes, which required not only strength but also an understanding of the terrain and how to navigate the natural obstacles the empire's roads presented. This system of communication was not just a marvel of physical endurance, but also of organization and precision. The chasqui ensured that the empire operated as a cohesive whole, with the ability to respond rapidly to threats, manage resources, and maintain control over its vast territories. In a world without modern technology, the chasqui were the lifeline that kept the Inca Empire running smoothly, ensuring that even the most far-flung regions of the empire could remain connected to the central government. The chasqui were not just messengers. They were the embodiment of the Incas' extraordinary logistical capabilities, a testament to their ability to overcome the vast geographical challenges that stood between them and the rest of the world. The Inca Empire reached its golden age during the reigns of powerful rulers like Pachacuti and his son Topa. Inca, a time when the empire expanded to its greatest territorial extent and its influence stretched from the Pacific coast to the high Andes. Under these leaders, the Inca not only solidified their dominance over a vast region, but also fostered a period of unprecedented cultural and economic prosperity. This era marked the zenith of Inca power, where advancements in agriculture, art, architecture, and trade laid the foundation for the empire's long-lasting legacy. Pachacuti, regarded as one of the most visionary leaders in Inca history, transformed the once modest city of Cusco into the heart of a thriving empire. His military conquests brought vast territories under Inca control, including neighboring regions such as the highland valleys, coastal areas, and parts of the Amazon rainforest. Pachacuti's reign also saw the establishment of the Sapa Inca as a semi-divine ruler, cementing the emperor's position as both a political and spiritual leader. Under Topa Inca, the empire continued to expand, consolidating lands that would form the core of the Inca Empire at its peak. During this golden age, the Inca economy flourished, driven by a strong agricultural base, supported by sophisticated techniques such as terraced farming and extensive irrigation systems. These innovations allowed the Inca to cultivate a diverse range of crops, from maize to potatoes, and sustain large urban populations. The empire's vast road network facilitated trade, not only within the empire, but also with neighboring cultures. Goods such as textiles, pottery, and metals moved freely across the empire's extensive territories, and the Inca traded with foreign regions, exchanging valuable resources like gold and silver for luxury goods. The period also witnessed a cultural flourishing that reinforced the power and cohesion of the empire. Art, particularly textiles, was highly valued, with intricate designs and vibrant colors representing the unique identity of different regions. Inca art and architecture reached new heights with the construction of monumental structures like Machu Picchu, Sacsayhuaman, and the vast temple complexes of Cusco. These architectural feats were not only stunning in their scale and precision, but also served as symbols of Inca dominance and divine connection. The use of perfectly cut stone without mortar, which has fascinated modern archaeologists, reflected the Inca's advanced engineering skills. In addition to architecture, the Inca made significant strides in agriculture. They developed advanced farming techniques that maximized the productivity of the Andean highlands. The introduction of crop rotation, irrigation channels, and terracing allowed them to create food surpluses that supported their large population and military campaigns. These agricultural advancements played a crucial role in maintaining stability within the empire, ensuring that even the most remote regions could be supplied with the resources they needed. The legacy of this golden age endures in the Incas' contributions to architecture, art, and agriculture. Their innovations in these fields not only sustained their empire, but also left behind a lasting cultural imprint that continues to influence the region today. The Inca Empire's golden age remains a testament to the ingenuity and power of a civilization that, at its peak, was one of the most advanced and prosperous in the ancient world. The decline of the Inca Empire was a complex process, shaped by a combination of internal strife, external pressures, and the sudden arrival of the Spanish. The empire, which had once thrived under the leadership of Pachacuti and Topa Inca, began to unravel due to a series of factors that weakened its once formidable power. Despite its impressive road systems, agricultural innovations, and military conquests, the Inca were not immune to the forces of instability that can arise in any empire. One of the major contributors to the weakening of the Inca Empire was internal division. After the death of the great emperor Topa Inca, his successors struggled to maintain unity within the vast empire. The lack of a clear succession system led to power struggles between competing factions within the royal family. These internal disputes were not just political, they were also deeply personal. A fierce civil war broke out between the brothers Huasca and Atahualpa, each claiming the throne. This conflict weakened the Inca state, as vast resources were diverted to fighting each other rather than defending the empire from external threats. The war left the empire divided, with the northern and southern parts of the empire under different leadership. This division not only drained the empire's military strength, but also eroded its unity. which had been central to its success. The arrival of the Spanish in 1532, led by Francisco Pizarro, struck the final blow to the already weakened Inca Empire. The Spanish were able to capitalize on the internal divisions, exploiting the power struggle between Atahualpa and Huáscar. Pizarro's forces, though vastly outnumbered, were able to capture Atahualpa after a surprise attack in the city of Cajamarca. This event was a turning point for the Inca Empire, as it destabilized the power structure and demoralized the Inca people. The capture of the emperor shattered the chain of command and left the empire without strong leadership. Atahualpa's subsequent execution in 1533 was a pivotal moment in the empire's decline. Despite offering a vast ransom in gold for his release, the Spanish executed the Inca emperor, cementing their control over the region. His death symbolized the collapse of the Inca leadership and the loss of the empire's centralized power. The murder of the emperor created a leadership vacuum, further destabilizing the empire and leaving its people vulnerable to the Spanish conquest. The weakening of the Inca state, combined with the brutal tactics of the Spanish, led to the rapid dismantling of the empire. What had once been a vast, unified empire quickly fractured under the strain of internal conflict and the relentless advance of a foreign invader. In the end, the Inca Empire, despite its monumental achievements, was unable to withstand the combined effects of internal division, succession struggles, and the catastrophic arrival of the Spanish. The empire's downfall marked the end of an era in Andean history, but its legacy would continue to shape the region for centuries to come. The arrival of the Spanish in the Andes marked the beginning of a profound and catastrophic transformation for the Inca Empire. In 1526, Spanish explorers, led by Francisco Pizarro and his men, first set foot on the western coast of South America. These early encounters between the Inca and the Spanish were filled with a mixture of curiosity, misunderstanding, and cultural shock. The Inca, accustomed to a world of formidable power and vast lands, had never encountered such a foreign force, both in terms of their appearance and their intentions. When Pizarro and his men landed, the Inca were initially unaware of the true threat the Spanish posed. The Incas had dealt with various indigenous groups throughout their empire, but these newcomers, with their strange metal armor, horses, and firearms, were something entirely different. The Spanish, led by Pizarro, had heard of the wealth and power of the Inca Empire and sought to exploit it for both personal and imperial gain. What began as a series of exploratory encounters quickly escalated into something much more dangerous as the Spanish moved inward toward the heart of the Inca Empire. At first, the Inca emperor, Huayna Capac's successor, Atahualpa, seemed indifferent to the Spanish presence. However, the Spanish were not merely interested in exploring new lands or establishing friendly relations. They were after the empire's immense wealth. The Spanish, driven by both greed and the desire to spread Christianity, began to make their intentions clear. Atahualpa, caught between the unfamiliarity of the Spanish presence and his own imperial responsibilities, was faced with the challenge of understanding and responding to this new foreign presence. The Inca, unfamiliar with the European practice of claiming land and riches through violent conquest, were caught off guard by the Spanish tactics. The initial misunderstanding between the two cultures played a significant role in the eventual downfall of the Inca Empire. Atahualpa, in his naivety, believed the Spanish might be just another tribe seeking alliance, unaware of their true motives. The Spanish, on the other hand, were quick to use force when their demands for gold and tribute were not immediately met. This led to a pivotal moment in 1532, when Pizarro lured Atahualpa into a meeting under the guise of a peaceful negotiation. What followed was a brutal ambush. The Spanish captured the Inca emperor, marking the beginning of the end for the once mighty Inca Empire. The cultural clash was not limited to the battlefield. The Spanish brought with them diseases such as smallpox, which devastated the native populations, including the Inca, who had no immunity to such illnesses. This, coupled with the overwhelming technological advantages of the Spanish firearms, steel weapons, and horses gave them the upper hand, even though they were vastly outnumbered by the Inca forces. The reaction of the Inca people to this new, unanticipated threat was one of confusion and fear, making it difficult for them to mount a coordinated defense. What followed was a rapid collapse of the Inca Empire, all sparked by these first fatal encounters with the Spanish. The fall of the Inca Empire came swiftly and ruthlessly after the capture and execution of Atahualpa. In 1532, the Spanish, led by Francisco Pizarro, had successfully lured the Inca emperor into a trap. Atahualpa, captured during a supposed meeting of peace, was held hostage by the Spanish forces. In exchange for his release, he offered a vast ransom of gold and silver, a treasure that would later become the object of Spanish greed. Despite the enormous wealth he promised, Pizarro had no intention of honoring the Inca emperor's offer. Atahualpa's fate was sealed when, after the ransom was paid, Pizarro had him executed in a brutal and public manner. The emperor was strangled in the main square of Cajamarca, the very city where he had been captured. This act of violence shattered the Inca leadership and sent shockwaves through the empire. The Inca people, already disoriented by the strange and foreign appearance of the Spanish, were now left without their ruler. Atahualpa's death symbolized the beginning of the end for the Inca Empire, as it marked the collapse of the centralized authority that had held the vast empire together for centuries. The Spanish conquest continued at a shocking pace. With Atahualpa's death, the unity of the Inca was fractured. Pizarro, along with his relatively small army, continued to march through the Inca heartland. The Spanish exploited the internal divisions that existed within the empire, particularly between Atahualpa's supporters in the north and the loyalists of the deceased Huayna Capac's family in the south. These rival factions, already weakened by the confusion of the emperor's capture, could not unite against the Spanish threat. The lack of a strong central leadership made it easier for the Spanish forces to rapidly advance. As the Spanish moved through the highlands, they encountered little resistance from the Inca military, which had been thrown into disarray after Atahualpa's execution. The Spanish were able to capture crucial cities like Cuzco, the heart of the Inca Empire, with relative ease. Once in control, the Spanish set about systematically looting the empire's vast treasures, taking gold and silver from the Inca temples and palaces, while also destroying much of Inca culture in the process. The cities were looted, their architectural masterpieces defaced or burned, and their sacred sites turned into Christian churches. The destruction of the Inca cities was not just a physical act of conquest. It was also an assault on the very identity of the Inca people. The Spanish imposed their religion, their culture, and their governance, forcibly replacing the Inca way of life. As the Inca Empire crumbled, so too did the intricate network of trade, religious practices, and traditions that had sustained it for centuries. The fall of the Inca Empire was not merely the loss of a territoriate, was the obliteration of a rich and advanced civilization, reduced to rubble in the wake of Spanish ambition and conquest. The collapse of the Inca state was a multifaceted tragedy that unfolded in the wake of the Spanish conquest. Once the Spanish had captured the heart of the Inca Empire, they began dividing the vast territories into manageable parts, distributing them to various Spanish conquistadors and settlers. This division not only fractured the territorial integrity of the Inca realm, but also set in motion a series of changes that devastated the once thriving society. The Inca people were subjugated to the will of their new European masters, and their lives, deeply intertwined with their land and culture, were drastically altered. In the aftermath of Atahualpa's death and the fall of Cuzco, the Spanish enforced a system of forced labor, known as the encomienda. Under this system, the Inca were made to work the lands and mines for the benefit of the Spanish settlers. The labor demands were brutal, and the conditions were often unbearable. Vast numbers of indigenous people, already reeling from the shock of the conquest, were subjected to grueling work in the silver mines and on agricultural estates. Many died under the harsh conditions, while others fled into the mountains in search of freedom. The once proud and industrious Inca were now slaves to the demands of foreign rulers, deprived of their autonomy and dignity. Adding to the Spanish subjugation was the devastating effect of European diseases. Smallpox, influenza, and other infectious diseases swept through the population, devastating the Inca and their allies. These diseases, to which the indigenous people had no immunity, killed an estimated 90% of the native population within just a few years of the Spanish arrival. The toll on the Inca population was catastrophic, further weakening the remnants of the empire and leaving the survivors demoralized and vulnerable to further exploitation. Entire villages were wiped out, and the survivors were left to cope with the collapse of their societal structures, mourning the loss of their leaders, families, and way of life. In addition to disease and forced labor, the role of Inca allies in the collapse cannot be overlooked. Many groups within the Inca Empire had previously been incorporated through diplomacy or conquest, and they now saw the arrival of the Spanish as an opportunity to free themselves from Inca rule. These former subjects of the empire, such as the Huancas and the Cañaris, allied with the Spanish, seeing them as potential liberators from Inca oppression. This division within the Inca Empire, along with the inability to unify under a single leader after Atahualpa's execution, allowed the Spanish to exploit existing tensions and further dismantle the Inca state. The lack of cohesive resistance, coupled with the betrayal of former Inca subjects, accelerated the disintegration of the once formidable empire. In the end, the collapse of the Inca state was a result of the convergence of foreign exploitation, the decimation of the population by disease, and the fracturing of alliances. What had once been a vast, unified empire, known for its architectural marvels, advanced agriculture, and intricate social systems, was reduced to little more than a collection of subjugated peoples scattered across a broken land. After the fall of the Inca Empire, the Spanish swiftly established their colonial rule over the vast territories that had once been unified under Inca sovereignty. The Andes, which had been home to one of the most sophisticated civilizations in the Americas, were now under the control of a foreign power. The Spanish crown appointed viceroys to govern these newly conquered lands, with the first being the Viceroyalty of Peru, which covered much of the former Inca Empire. The remnants of Inca political structures were dismantled, and the Spanish implemented their own systems of governance, which were heavily centralized and aimed at maximizing economic exploitation. One of the first and most profound changes that took place under Spanish rule was the forced conversion of the indigenous population to Christianity. The Spanish missionaries, particularly the Franciscans, Dominicans, and Jesuits, were sent to evangelize the native people, often using aggressive methods. The traditional Inca religious practices, including the worship of Inti, the sun god, and the veneration of ancestors, were suppressed in favor of Christianity. Indigenous leaders were forced to adopt the new faith, with the promise of salvation in exchange for loyalty to the Spanish crown. Churches were built atop the ruins of Inca temples, symbolizing the triumph of Christianity over the old ways. While some indigenous people converted willingly, many did so under duress or simply adapted Christian practices to their own beliefs in a form of syncretism that blurred the lines between the two religions. The imposition of Spanish rule also brought significant changes to the social, economic, and political structures of the Andes. The encomienda system, which granted Spanish settlers the right to extract labor from the indigenous people, was implemented with devastating consequences. Native populations were forced to work in the silver mines and on agricultural estates, often under brutal conditions. The Spanish also introduced European-style agriculture, with the cultivation of crops like wheat, barley, and sugarcane, replacing many traditional Inca farming practices. This shift in agriculture disrupted the Incas' carefully balanced ecological system and led to the displacement of indigenous crops, causing long-term damage to the region's biodiversity. Politically, the Spanish dismantled the traditional Inca hierarchical system and replaced it with a system that emphasized Spanish control at every level. The meter labor system, which the Inca had used to organize labor for public works, was twisted by the Spanish into a system of coerced labor that was used to mine silver and produce goods for export. The Spanish exploited the resources of the Andes, particularly the massive silver deposits in places like Potosi, to fuel their empire, while the indigenous population suffered under the weight of their forced labor. Over time, the Andes transformed under Spanish rule. The rich cultural heritage of the Incas was overshadowed by European influence, and the people of the region were subjugated to a colonial system that prioritized the extraction of wealth for the Spanish crown. While resistance continued in various forms, the overwhelming force of Spanish colonial rule reshaped the Andes in ways that would resonate for centuries. The legacy of this period is one of cultural erasure, exploitation, and the slow emergence of a new social order in the wake of Inca civilization's destruction. The fall of the Inca Empire marked a dramatic shift in the Andes, but the legacy of the Incas lived on through their people and traditions. Despite the brutal imposition of Spanish rule, the indigenous populations found ways to preserve aspects of their culture, religion, and way of life. Though the Spanish sought to eradicate Inca customs by replacing them with European practices, the resilience of the Andean people ensured that many traditions endured, albeit in altered forms. The legacy of the Inca Empire continued to influence the region's agricultural practices, language, art, and social structures, even as colonial oppression sought to reshape the Andean world. One of the most enduring aspects of Inca culture was the preservation of traditional agricultural practices. The Andean terraces and irrigation systems that had been perfected under Inca rule were adapted and maintained by local farmers. These agricultural techniques, refined over centuries, allowed indigenous communities to continue thriving in the high-altitude environment of the Andes. The use of native crops, such as potatoes, maize, and quinoa, persisted, ensuring that the agricultural knowledge of the Incas remained vital to the survival of the population. Furthermore, the communal organization of labor, which had been an essential part of Inca society, was retained, often under different names but with similar goals of shared responsibility. Despite the Spanish efforts to suppress indigenous beliefs and force conversions to Christianity, many Andean people continued to honor their ancestors and maintain a spiritual connection to their land. Religious syncretism became a defining characteristic of Andean spirituality, where elements of Catholicism were blended with traditional Inca religious practices. Festivals that celebrated the sun and other natural deities merged with Christian holidays, creating a unique form of worship that both honored the old gods and adapted to the new religious framework. In many cases, the Catholic saints were associated with indigenous deities, maintaining a continuity of the sacred in the face of colonial pressure. As time passed, the blending of indigenous and Spanish cultures led to the rise of mestizo culture. The offspring of Spanish colonizers and indigenous people formed a new social class that bridged the gap between the conquerors and the conquered. Mestizo culture emerged as a fusion of European and Andean elements, with language, food, clothing, and customs mixing in ways that created a unique identity in the Andes. While the Spanish attempted to impose their customs and governance, the mestizo population often straddled both worlds, adopting aspects of Spanish life while retaining ties to their indigenous roots. This blending of cultures became the foundation for much of the modern Andean identity. Though the Inca Empire was long gone, its influence remained strong. The people of the Andes, through persistence, adaptation, and resilience, ensured that the heart of Inca civilization never truly disappeared. The strength of Inca traditions along with the rise of mestizo culture, became a testament to the enduring spirit of the Andean people, whose legacy continues to shape the region to this day. The influence of the Inca civilization on modern-day Peru is profound and enduring. Despite the many centuries that have passed since the fall of the Inca Empire, traces of its legacy can be seen in the country's culture, traditions, and even its political and social structures. The Inca Empire left behind a rich heritage that continues to shape Peruvian identity, from its agricultural practices to its artistic expressions and its language. One of the most striking aspects of Inca influence in modern Peru is the continuity of agricultural techniques. The Incas revolutionized agriculture in the highlands of the Andes with their advanced terracing systems and irrigation channels. These innovations allowed the Andean people to cultivate the steep mountain slopes, ensuring food security for their growing population. In modern-day Peru, these same techniques are still used by many indigenous farmers in rural areas, adapting the Inca methods to suit their needs. Crops like potatoes, maize, quinoa, and other native plants, which the Incas helped to domesticate and refine, remain staples of the Peruvian diet today. Inca art, too, has left a lasting impression, from intricate textiles woven on backstrap looms to the detailed pottery and metalwork that adorned Inca palaces. These artistic traditions continue to thrive. Peruvian artisans still craft textiles with techniques passed down through generations, creating colorful tapestries, ponchos, and blankets that reflect Inca designs and motifs. Inca-inspired jewelry, pottery, and sculptures are not only used in traditional ceremonies, but also serve as a symbol of cultural pride and heritage. These crafts are highly valued both locally and globally, reflecting the continuing admiration for Inca artistry. Language, too, remains a vital link to the past. The Quechua language, once spoken by the Incas across their vast empire, is still spoken by millions of Peruvians today, particularly in rural and indigenous communities. While Spanish is the dominant language in Peru, Quechua has maintained its cultural significance and is recognized as an official language alongside Spanish. Efforts to preserve and promote the Quechua language in schools and media have gained momentum in recent years, and it is seen as a vital element of Peru's cultural identity. Interest in Inca heritage has also seen a resurgence in recent decades, particularly through tourism and academic study. Peru's archaeological sites, including Machu Picchu, the Sacred Valley, and the Inca capital of Cusco, draw millions of visitors each year who come to marvel at the architectural genius and cultural accomplishments of the Incas. This growing interest has sparked a renewed pride in Inca heritage, not only among Peruvians, but also among people around the world. In academia, the study of Inca history and culture has flourished, with scholars dedicating their careers to uncovering the secrets of the Inca Empire and its legacy. The revival of interest in Inca heritage has helped to strengthen national pride in Peru's indigenous roots, fostering a deeper connection between the past and present. It is clear that the Inca civilization, with its remarkable achievements in agriculture, art, language, and society, continues to shape modern Peru, ensuring that the legacy of this great empire lives on for generations to come. Quechua, the language of the Inca Empire, holds a deeply significant place in the cultural fabric of Peru. It was the language of the Incas themselves, spoken by millions across the vast expanse of their empire. Inca society was built upon a rich oral tradition, and Quechua served as the primary means of communication, uniting the diverse peoples of the Andean region. From the bustling markets of Cusco to the remote mountain villages, Quechua was the thread that connected the empire's inhabitants, facilitating trade, governance, and cultural exchange. The language was not just a tool for communication, but a vital part of the Inca identity, woven into every aspect of their daily lives and rituals. Even after the fall of the Inca Empire, Quechua managed to survive, embedded in the daily lives of the Andean people. While Spanish became the dominant language after the Spanish conquest, Quechua remained the language of many indigenous communities throughout the Andes. Its survival is a testament to the resilience of the indigenous peoples, who refused to let their language be erased, despite centuries of colonial oppression. Today, Quechua is recognized as one of Peru's official languages, alongside Spanish, reflecting its continued importance in the country's cultural landscape. This recognition is not just symbolic. It underscores the efforts to revive and preserve a language that has endured for centuries. The role of language in shaping cultural identity cannot be overstated, and Quechua plays a central role in the identity of millions of Peruvians. For the indigenous peoples of the Andes, speaking Quechua is an expression of cultural pride, a connection to their ancestors, and a means of preserving their unique way of life. It serves as a bridge between generations, linking the ancient traditions of the Incas with the present. In a world where indigenous cultures have often been marginalized, the survival and promotion of Quechua is an act of cultural resistance, asserting the value of Andean heritage in a modern context. Quechua is also a vessel for historical memory, carrying with it the stories, songs, and wisdom of generations. The language is rich with expressions and idioms that reflect the Andean worldview, tied to the rhythms of the natural world, agricultural cycles, and spiritual beliefs. In the oral traditions of Quechua, stories of the Inca Empire, its rulers, and its fall are passed down, keeping the history of the civilization alive. Language, therefore, is not just a way of speaking. It is a repository of history and culture, holding memories of triumphs and tragedies alike. In recent years, efforts to revitalize Quechua have gained momentum. Educational programs, media campaigns, and cultural initiatives aim to teach younger generations the language and to celebrate its importance in shaping Peru's national identity. As Peru continues to grapple with its colonial past and the complexities of modern identity, the preservation of Quechua stands as a powerful symbol of indigenous strength, resilience, and the ongoing journey of reclaiming cultural heritage. The Sacred Valley, nestled in the heart of the Andes Mountains, holds a deep spiritual and cultural significance for the Inca civilization. Known as the Wilcamayu in Quechua, meaning sacred river, the valley is surrounded by towering peaks and fed by the Urubamba River, which flows through its lush landscape. This area was not only an agricultural powerhouse for the Incas, but also a central hub for religious ceremonies, royal rituals, and the overall cultural identity of the empire. The fertile land of the Sacred Valley was vital for sustaining the large population of the Inca Empire, with its crops and agricultural techniques playing a crucial role in the empire's stability and prosperity. The valley is home to some of the most significant archaeological sites of the Inca civilization, each with its own unique connection to Inca history. Ollantaytambo, an ancient Inca fortress and ceremonial center, stands as a testament to the military and spiritual importance of the valley. The site is renowned for its incredible stone terraces, which were used both for agriculture and religious purposes. The large, carefully placed stones at Ollantaytambo reflect the Incas' advanced engineering techniques and their ability to harmonize their constructions with the natural landscape. The site also holds the remains of temples and ceremonial platforms, all of which point to its deep spiritual significance as a center of worship and reverence for the gods. Not far from Ollantaytambo is Pisac, another vital archaeological site that offers insight into the complex relationship the Incas had with the land and their deities. Pisac was a significant urban center, with terraces that line the mountain slopes and an impressive array of temples and shrines. Like Ollantaytambo, Pisac was strategically positioned to harness the natural landscape for both agricultural productivity and spiritual purposes. The site is known for its agricultural terraces, which were carved into the mountainside, enabling the Incas to cultivate crops at high altitudes. These terraces were not only functional, but also symbolic of the Incas' relationship to the earth and their reverence for Pachamama, the earth goddess. The sacred valley also played a key role in Inca religious practices. Many of the valley's sites were dedicated to worshipping deities associated with the natural world, such as the sun god Inti and the earth goddess Pachamama. The valley's landscape was thought to embody spiritual power, with the mountains, rivers, and plants all considered sacred. The Incas believed that these natural elements were deeply connected to their gods and that the sacred valley was a center of divine energy. Pilgrims from all over the empire would journey to the valley to participate in religious festivals and ceremonies, including offerings and rituals meant to honor the gods and ensure the fertility of the land. In addition to its religious and agricultural significance, the Sacred Valley was also home to numerous important Inca settlements. The valley's fertile soil, coupled with its proximity to the Inca capital of Cusco, made it an essential part of the empire's agricultural and economic systems. It was a place where the sacred and the practical intertwined, creating a space that was not only central to the survival of the Inca Empire, but also to its spiritual and cultural identity. Today, the Sacred Valley continues to be a symbol of the Inca legacy, attracting visitors from all over the world who come to witness its profound beauty and historical importance. Inti, the sun god, held an unparalleled position in the Inca religion and the empire's statecraft, symbolizing the very heart of Inca spirituality, politics, and daily life. Revered as the divine ancestor of the Inca rulers, Inti was believed to be the source of life, warmth, and fertility, playing a central role in both agricultural practices and the cosmic order. The Sapa Inca, the emperor, was regarded as the direct descendant of Inti, and his authority was seen as divinely sanctioned, giving him the power to rule not only through political might, but also through his sacred connection to the sun god. This divine status made the ruler's every action a reflection of Inti's will, and his decisions were meant to maintain harmony with the natural and spiritual world. Temples dedicated to Inti, such as the famous Coricancha in Cusco, were monumental in both size and significance. Known as the Temple of the Sun, Coricancha was the most important religious site in the Inca Empire, its walls once covered in sheets of gold to symbolize the sun god's radiance. The temple was a focal point for elaborate rituals and ceremonies, many of which aimed to honor Inti and ensure the fertility of the land. Its golden interior served as a visual representation of the sun's power, creating a space where light and wealth converged. The ceremonies at these temples were deeply intertwined with the agricultural cycles, as the Incas believed that the sun god directly influenced the success of crops and the prosperity of their empire. The festival of Inti Raymi, dedicated to the sun god, was one of the most important religious events of the Inca calendar. Celebrated during the winter solstice, when the sun's power was at its weakest, the festival marked the beginning of a new agricultural cycle, signaling the return of the sun's strength. The Sapa Inca, dressed in the finest regalia, would perform rituals to honor Inti, offering sacrifices, prayers, and ceremonies that included music, dancing, and feasting. It was a time when the emperor reaffirmed his divine connection to the sun god and sought blessings for the coming year's harvest. The festival symbolized renewal and reaffirmed the Incas' belief in the cyclical nature of life, where death and rebirth were constantly intertwined. Even after the fall of the Inca Empire, the festival of Inti Raymi continued to resonate within Peruvian culture. Today, the festival is celebrated annually in Cusco, attracting thousands of people from around the world. It serves not only as a remembrance of Inca traditions, but also as a vibrant expression of cultural pride and national identity. The celebration has become a symbol of Peru's deep connection to its indigenous roots, honoring the legacy of Inti and the powerful role the sun god played in shaping the history and spiritual fabric of the Inca civilization. Inca mythology and cosmology were deeply intertwined, influencing every aspect of Inca life, from governance to daily rituals. Central to this worldview was Viracocha, the creator god who shaped the world and gave order to the cosmos. Viracocha was revered as the god who created humanity, the sun, and all life, and was often depicted as a bearded, majestic figure. According to Inca myths, Viracocha brought the first humans to life from stone and taught them essential skills like agriculture and craftsmanship. He was not only the god of creation, but also of transformation, embodying the forces that governed the natural and supernatural worlds. Viracocha's role was essential in maintaining the balance and harmony of the universe, ensuring that the forces of nature worked in unison for the benefit of the people. The Incas' understanding of the world was divided into three distinct realms, each with its own set of rules, beings, and relationships. Hanan Pacha, the upper world, was where the gods resided and where the forces of the cosmos were kept in order. This realm was associated with the sky and the celestial bodies, and it was believed that the sun god Inti and other deities resided there, governing the natural cycles of the earth. K Pacha, the world of the living, was the middle realm, where humans, animals, and plants existed. It was the realm in which daily life unfolded, and the Inca people understood it as the present world in which they interacted with the divine and the natural elements. Pacha, the lower world, was associated with death and the afterlife. It was a place where souls resided after death, and was also linked with the underworld forces, such as the ancestors and other spiritual beings who influenced the living. The Inca people's belief in these three realms deeply shaped their society and rituals. Their governance was built on the concept of maintaining cosmic balance. The Sapa Inca, as the divine ruler, was seen as the intermediary between the human world and the gods. It was his responsibility to ensure that the gods were appeased through rituals, sacrifices, and ceremonies, keeping the natural order intact. This divine mandate was central to the stability of the empire, as it was believed that the prosperity of the people depended on the Sapa Inca's ability to align the three realms and satisfy the gods. Mythology influenced Inca daily life in profound ways. The agricultural cycle, for example, was deeply connected to religious observances. The Incas believed that their crops were nurtured by the gods, and it was their duty to perform rituals that would ensure a bountiful harvest. The rituals were not merely religious ceremonies, but acts of cosmic alignment, ensuring that the three realms worked in harmony. Festivals, sacrifices, and pilgrimages to sacred sites like Machu Picchu were all part of maintaining this balance, reflecting the Incas' view that the spiritual and physical worlds were inseparable, and that one's actions on Earth had direct consequences for the cosmos. The Inca had a profound connection to the cosmos, seeing the stars, planets, and the movements of celestial bodies as essential elements that shaped their agricultural practices, religious beliefs, and daily life. They believed that the heavens were closely linked to the earth, and understanding the sky was key to maintaining harmony between the human world and the divine forces. The Inca saw the night sky as a map, where the constellations provided guidance, and the stars were seen as deities themselves. This connection was especially vital to agriculture, as the Inca relied on the celestial movements to time their planting and harvesting cycles. The appearance and position of certain constellations, such as the Southern Cross and the Milky Way, signified the changing seasons, dictating when to sow crops and when to reap them. These celestial events were not just markers of time, but were deeply tied to their religious practices and rituals, reflecting the belief that the heavens governed all aspects of life on Earth. One of the most significant astronomical artifacts of the Inca was the Intihuatana stone, which served as both a timekeeper and a spiritual tool. The stone, found in places like Machu Picchu, was a ritual stone used to mark key moments in the solar calendar, especially the solstices and equinoxes. The word Intihuatana itself means hitching post of the sun, highlighting its connection to the sun god, Inti. It was believed that the stone's positioning allowed the Incas to tie the sun to the earth, ensuring its return during the darkest days of the year. The Intihuatana served not only as an astronomical tool, but also as a spiritual anchor, a reminder of the sun's divine power and its crucial role in maintaining life. The precision with which the Inca placed these stones demonstrates their sophisticated understanding of the sun's movements, showcasing their advanced knowledge of astronomy and their ability to integrate it into their physical and spiritual environments. The Inca calendar, based on lunar and solar cycles, further reflected the importance of astronomy in their daily lives. It was a complex system that divided the year into different periods for religious festivals, agricultural activities, and military campaigns. The calendar dictated when to conduct rituals, plant crops, and perform sacrifices to honor the gods. The solar calendar, which was based on the position of the sun, helped the Inca predict the changing seasons, while the lunar calendar was used for more ritualistic purposes. The accuracy of these calendars demonstrated the Incas' remarkable astronomical skills, as they were able to track the sun, moon, and stars with great precision, creating a rhythm for life that aligned both with the natural world and with the spiritual realms. Inca rituals were deeply integrated with astronomical events. Major festivals, such as Inti Raymi, the festival of the sun, were timed to coincide with the solstices, when the sun's position in the sky marked a shift in the seasons. These celestial occurrences were seen as divine signs, and the rituals performed during these events were intended to honor the gods and ensure prosperity for the people. The Inca used their understanding of the cosmos not only as a guide for practical matters like agriculture, but also as a means of connecting with the divine, reinforcing the belief that the heavens and the earth were inextricably linked in a cosmic dance that governed all life. Inca art and craftsmanship were deeply intertwined with the empire's religious and cultural values, serving not only as expressions of aesthetic beauty, but also as important symbols of the divine order. The Inca people were known for their extraordinary skill in a wide range of artistic endeavors, from textiles and pottery to metalwork and stone carving. These artistic forms were highly symbolic, reflecting the Incas' deep respect for the natural world, their gods, and their emperor. The use of bright, bold colors in textiles, intricate geometric patterns in pottery, and finely crafted gold and silver items all demonstrated the Incas' ability to blend practicality with profound spiritual meaning. Textiles were perhaps the most significant artistic form for the Incas. The fabric was essential not only for daily use, but also for ceremonial purposes. The Inca created some of the finest textiles in the ancient world, using alpaca and llama wool to weave intricate patterns and designs. These textiles often featured geometric shapes and motifs representing the natural world, including depictions of animals, plants, and the sun. The art of weaving was so highly valued that it was closely tied to the religious practices of the Inca. Women, particularly those of the royal family, were responsible for creating these sacred textiles, which were used in rituals and offerings to the gods. The weaving of these items was often considered a spiritual act, a way of connecting with the divine through the transformation of raw materials into intricate works of art. The textiles also played a role in the social structure of the Inca Empire, as they were often used as tributes or symbols of status. The finest weavings, often in bright gold and red, were reserved for the nobility and the royal family, signifying their divine connection to the gods. Pottery was another important aspect of Inca craftsmanship. Inca pottery was typically functional, used for storing food, liquids, and ceremonial offerings. These vessels were often decorated with geometric patterns, and some depicted animals or deities. The pottery reflected the Incas' connection to the earth, with many designs inspired by the natural world, such as birds, fish, and other creatures that were considered sacred or symbolic. These items were often used in religious ceremonies, where the Inca would make offerings to their gods, reinforcing the connection between the spiritual and physical worlds. Metalwork, particularly in gold and silver, was a hallmark of Inca craftsmanship. The Inca had access to vast mineral resources and developed advanced techniques for shaping metals, often using them for religious or ceremonial purposes. Gold, in particular, was considered the sweat of the sun god, Inti, and was used to create objects such as altars, figurines, and offerings. These pieces were not just valuable for their material wealth, but were also considered imbued with divine power, capable of connecting the Inca with the gods. Metal objects often featured intricate designs, with some pieces depicting the sun, moon, and other celestial bodies that were central to Inca religious beliefs. The role of artisans in Inca society was crucial. They were highly respected members of their communities, entrusted with creating items that had both functional and spiritual significance. Artisans worked under the supervision of the state, with the finest works often commissioned by the emperor for religious ceremonies, royal events, or to honor the gods. Craftsmanship was not merely about skill, it was about creating items that resonated with the divine, blending the Incas' material culture with their spiritual beliefs. Art was a way of telling the stories of the gods, of nature, and of the empire, serving as both a practical and symbolic bridge between the earthly and the divine. Through their art, the Inca were able to honor their gods, reflect their worldview, and perpetuate the cultural values that were central to their identity as a people. The Ayllu was the foundational building block of Inca society, a kinship group that shaped the way the Inca people lived, worked, and organized themselves. It was more than just a social unit, it was the heart of the empire's structure. The Ayllu was integral to the Incas' agricultural-based economy, providing not only a system of labor, but also ensuring the survival and welfare of the community. Members of the Ayllu were bound together by familial ties, and their shared responsibilities contributed to the cohesion and stability of the larger empire. Each Ayllu was typically composed of extended families that worked together on common tasks. It was within these groups that the Inca people lived in close-knit communities, where cooperation and mutual support were essential for survival. The Inca state utilized the Ayllu system to ensure that the land was farmed, the crops were harvested, and the resources were shared. Land within the Ayllu was communally owned, but it was allocated based on need and the ability to contribute to the community's well-being. The head of the Ayllu, often an elder, would be responsible for managing the distribution of land and resources, making sure that each family received what they needed to thrive. Labor within the Ayllu was highly organized. Everyone had a role to play, and each person's contribution was essential to the success of the group. The division of labor was often along gender lines, with men typically working the fields, herding livestock, or participating in military service, while women were tasked with domestic duties such as weaving, cooking, and caring for children. However, this division was not rigid. The community's needs could require people to take on various roles, such as women participating in agricultural work or men contributing to household tasks during the off-season. The Inca government also used the Ayllu structure to organize and carry out the meter labor system, which required all able-bodied individuals to contribute labor for public works, such as road building, farming, and service to the state. The labor taxes required of the people were seen as a duty to the empire, a reciprocal relationship between the individual and the state. The Ayllu was not only responsible for providing food and labor, but also for maintaining social cohesion. The strong familial bonds that tied the members of each Ayllu together created a sense of unity and shared responsibility. This network of mutual support ensured that the needs of the people were met, both in times of abundance and scarcity. In times of crisis, the Ayllu provided for the sick, elderly, and those who could not work, ensuring that no one was left behind. This social safety net reinforced the collective identity of the Inca people and upheld the values of cooperation and solidarity. Through the structure of the Ayllu, The Inca were able to maintain a highly organized and cohesive society, one in which the people worked together for the common good. It was a system that ensured the well-being of individuals while contributing to the strength and success of the entire empire. The Alu was not just a mechanism for land and labor distribution. It was a symbol of the Inca people's commitment to collective prosperity and social harmony. The road to Cuzco was paved not only by the achievements of Inca rulers, but by the relentless military campaigns that expanded the empire's reach across the Andes. These campaigns, marked by both strategic brilliance and unmatched determination, allowed the Inca Empire to grow from a small highland kingdom to one of the largest empires in pre-Columbian America. The military success of the Incas was driven by a combination of well-executed tactics, the strategic use of resources, and the leadership of some of the empire's greatest generals. The strategies employed by the Inca military were as diverse as the terrain they conquered. In the rugged mountain passes, their soldiers used the land to their advantage, utilizing the high altitudes to exhaust their enemies. They were also masters of psychological warfare, often choosing to make a show of force before battles in order to intimidate their enemies into surrendering. In many cases, the Incas sought to incorporate newly conquered territories into their empire through diplomacy or persuasion, rather than resorting to violence. The Incas had a system of offering alliances to local leaders, which often led to peaceful integration. However, when diplomacy failed, the Inca military was more than capable of securing victory through force. They employed disciplined formations and relied on their elite soldiers, such as the fearsome warriors known as the Quipucamayocs, to maintain cohesion and execute military orders effectively. One of the most effective tools in the Incas' military arsenal was their use of the chasqui, or messenger runners, who carried important communications across vast distances. These runners allowed the empire's generals to stay in contact with distant units, coordinating movements and making real-time decisions. The rapid flow of information was critical in battles, enabling the Inca to execute swift tactics and respond quickly to the changing tides of war. Key military leaders like Pachacuti, the 9th Sapa Inca, played pivotal roles in expanding the empire. His military campaigns led the Inca to conquer vast territories, bringing the sacred city of Cuzco to the heart of the empire and extending its borders beyond the natural constraints of the Andes. Under his rule, the Incas refined their military strategies and became an unstoppable force. His son, Topa Inca Yupanqui, was also a legendary military leader whose conquests solidified the empire's presence along the western coast and into the jungles of the east. His campaigns extended Inca control over regions rich in resources, securing trade routes and enhancing the empire's wealth. Through these campaigns, the Incas were not just expanding their territorial reach, they were also building the foundation for their lasting empire. The strategic importance of these military successes cannot be overstated. Each conquest brought with it new lands, new resources, and new peoples to integrate into the empire. The Inca military ensured that these acquisitions would remain secure, maintaining their reputation as a formidable power in the ancient world. Their military campaigns were instrumental in shaping not only the geographical scope of the Inca Empire, but also the legacy of their culture, governance, and military prowess. The Incas, though largely focused on expanding their empire and solidifying their dominance, found themselves in constant conflict with neighboring tribes and rival states. The lands they sought to control were not uninhabited. They were home to various peoples with their own cultures, political structures, and militaries. The Inca were faced with both the challenge of conquering these territories and the necessity of maintaining control over their newly acquired lands. To achieve this, they developed a complex system of diplomacy and military might, which allowed them to protect and expand the empire. When approaching neighboring tribes, the Inca employed a strategy that blended both diplomacy and coercion. They often sent emissaries to meet with local rulers, offering alliances and mutual benefits, particularly through trade and the promise of stability. The Inca were skilled in utilizing their religious authority to gain the favor of neighboring leaders, offering them a sense of divine protection under the Inca sun god, Inti. This ability to forge political alliances was key in maintaining peace and ensuring the smooth integration of newly acquired territories into the empire. However, when diplomacy failed, or when resistance was too strong to overcome with words, the Inca were unafraid to engage in military action. One of the most notable strategies employed by the Inca in these conflicts was the use of intimidation. Often, before battle was even fought, the Incas would send a display of their military might, including their highly trained and organized soldiers, in hopes of scaring their enemies into surrendering without a fight. In many cases, the threat of battle was enough to convince neighboring tribes to submit to Inca rule. For those who resisted, the Incas swiftly dispatched their well-coordinated military units, using their understanding of the terrain to their advantage. The Incas were experts in mountain warfare, using the high altitudes to wear down their enemies, often causing them to retreat in exhaustion. However, the Incas also knew the value of maintaining peace with certain tribes. They formed alliances with powerful groups in regions they sought to control, ensuring that these tribes would remain loyal through both military force and economic incentives. The Incas offered these groups protection and political power in exchange for their cooperation, thus avoiding full-scale warfare. These alliances helped to strengthen the Inca Empire and provided an added layer of stability within its borders. Some of the greatest battles in Inca history occurred when local tribes refused to submit to Inca rule. The Incas' most significant victories came not only through direct combat, but through their ability to adapt and learn from each confrontation. For example, when faced with the mighty Chimu Empire, the Inca, under Pachacuti's leadership, used both military might and diplomatic maneuvering to absorb the Chimu without destroying them entirely, incorporating their culture and technologies into the growing empire. Ultimately, the Incas understood that expansion was as much about winning hearts and minds as it was about military prowess. Their ability to balance military action with strategic alliances and diplomacy was a key factor in the rapid growth of their empire, ensuring that their borders were not only protected but constantly pushed outward. Rituals and ceremonies were central to Inca life, deeply interwoven with both religious beliefs and the workings of the state. For the Incas, maintaining the favor of the gods was not a passive endeavor. It required constant action, devotion, and a series of elaborate ceremonies to ensure the prosperity and well-being of the empire. The most important of these rituals were seen as vital to the survival and success of their civilization, with each ceremony designed to appease a specific deity and secure their divine protection. At the heart of Inca, religious practice was the belief that the gods were actively involved in the day-to-day life of the people. They controlled the natural world sun, moon, earth, and water, and had the power to bless or curse the Inca state. As such, the role of rituals was not only spiritual, but also political. The Sapa Inca, as the divine ruler of the empire, was both a political and religious figure, acting as the intermediary between the gods and the people. His participation in religious ceremonies symbolized the unity between governance and religion, ensuring that both divine favor and social order were maintained. One of the most significant and sacred rituals was the Capacocha ceremony, in which children were chosen from various parts of the empire to be offered as sacrifices to the gods. These children were selected based on their beauty, health, and purity, considered living embodiments of the people's reverence for the gods. The ritual required that these children be brought to sacred sites, often high up in the mountains, where they were given offerings and then sacrificed, either through strangulation or freezing to death. The Capacocha was seen as a way to secure the favor of the gods, particularly the sun god, Inti, who was believed to control the well-being of the Inca people. These sacrifices were thought to ensure a good harvest, successful military campaigns, and continued prosperity for the empire. Beyond human sacrifice, the Inca also performed ceremonies involving offerings of food, drink, and precious objects. These offerings were made in the temples, which were often located in sacred areas like Machu Picchu and other holy sites, scattered throughout the empire. These rituals were tied directly to agricultural cycles and celestial events, particularly the solstices, which marked the beginning of planting and harvesting seasons. Ceremonies were held to honor Inti, Pachamama, the earth goddess, and other important deities who governed the elements necessary for life. Rituals were not merely the responsibility of priests, they were a part of everyday life for many in Inca society. As part of their governance, the Incas ensured that every significant event in the state, be it a military victory, the birth of a royal child, or a seasonal change, was accompanied by an appropriate ritual. This seamless integration of religion and governance reinforced the power of the Sapa Inca, establishing him not only as the ruler of the people, but as the living representative of the divine on earth, whose duty was to maintain harmony between the human and the sacred. Through these rituals, the Inca Empire was bound together in both a spiritual and political unity that lasted for centuries. The Inca calendar was an intricate system, deeply tied to the cycles of nature and the rhythms of their agricultural society. Central to the calendar was the solar year, which was carefully tracked to ensure that the agricultural cycles of planting and harvesting were properly aligned with divine will. The Incas also relied on lunar phases, which guided the timing of religious ceremonies and festivals. The connection between time, agriculture, and spirituality was fundamental to Inca life, and their calendar was seen as the sacred tool that ensured harmony with the gods and the successful functioning of the empire. The solar calendar was the most important, as it dictated the key moments of the agricultural cycle. Each year was divided into two halves, the rainy season and the dry season, which directly affected crop cultivation. As the Incas relied heavily on maize, potatoes, and other staple crops, it was essential that the festivals and rituals coincided with the agricultural needs of the empire. The calendar allowed the people to track the sun's movement, particularly during solstices, to determine when to sow, reap, and make offerings to the gods. These rituals were not only practical but also sacred, as the Incas believed that honoring the cycles of the natural world was a direct way of gaining favor from the gods. The most significant festival in the Inca calendar was Inti Raymi, the festival of the sun, which celebrated the sun god, Inti, the most revered deity in their pantheon. Inti Raymi marked the winter solstice and was a celebration of the sun's return, the point at which daylight began to lengthen and the sun regained its strength. This festival, held in June, was a time for great feasts, music, and dance. It was believed that Inti, the sun god, would provide light and warmth, ensuring the success of the coming agricultural year. The Sapa Inca, as the direct descendant of Inti, played a central role in the ceremony, reaffirming his divine connection to the sun. The people would gather in large numbers, and the high priest would lead rituals, offering sacrifices and prayers for a bountiful harvest. In addition to Inti Raymi, there were many other festivals that tied the Inca people to the divine and to their agricultural duties. These included the agricultural festivals, which were timed to mark the different phases of planting and harvesting. These festivals were often characterized by offerings of food, textiles, and llamas, which were seen as precious gifts to the gods. The celebrations were not only times of religious significance, but also times of unity for the people. The festivals fostered a collective sense of community and reaffirmed the shared responsibility of the people to maintain the prosperity of the empire. The festivals and the calendar itself reflected the Incas' deep understanding of the interconnectedness between the natural world and the divine. Through their rituals and celebrations, the Inca ensured that the cosmic order was upheld and that their society remained in balance with the forces of nature. Each festival was a reminder that the success of the empire depended on the continued favor of the gods and the careful stewardship of the land. The calendar, as a manifestation of divine order, was more than a tool for tracking time. It was a spiritual framework that bound the people to their agricultural duties, their leaders, and their gods. Inca architecture is renowned for its sophistication and durability, reflecting the empire's mastery over both engineering and aesthetics. One of the most remarkable aspects of Inca construction was their use of massive, precisely cut stones, which were fitted together without the use of mortar. This technique, known as ashlar masonry, allowed the stones to fit so tightly that even a knife blade couldn't slip between them. The precision with which the stones were cut and placed ensured the stability and longevity of Inca structures, allowing many of these buildings to stand for centuries despite the challenges of earthquakes and other natural disasters. The Inca employed this technique across their cities, temples, and fortresses. Machu Picchu, perhaps the most famous Inca site, stands as a testament to their architectural ingenuity. Nestled high in the Andes, the city was built with stones that were shaped to fit perfectly together, creating structures that have withstood the test of time. The site's terraced slopes, which helped with agriculture and water management, and the sacred buildings that align with celestial events, all demonstrate the Inca's understanding of both practical and spiritual needs. The Temple of the Sun, with its curved walls and panoramic view of the surrounding mountains, captures the Incas' reverence for the natural world and their desire to integrate their architecture with the landscape. Similarly, Sacsayhuaman, the fortress overlooking Cusco, is another example of Inca mastery. The megalithic walls, made from massive stones that weigh several tons, fit together with such precision that no mortar was needed to hold them in place. These walls were built to protect the heart of the Inca Empire, but also served a symbolic purpose, representing the strength and unity of the empire. The massive stones, carefully aligned to the Earth's natural contours, reflected the Incas' deep connection to their environment. Every aspect of Inca architecture, from the placement of buildings to the layout of their cities, was designed with religious and cosmic principles in mind. The Inca were not just builders, they were artists who used stone as a medium to express their spiritual beliefs. Their architecture reflected their understanding of the natural world and the divine forces that governed it. Temples, shrines, and sacred spaces were strategically placed to align with celestial events such as solstices and equinoxes, and the careful design of cities mirrored the structure of the universe. The Sapa Inca, believed to be a descendant of the sun god Inti, was represented in the architecture of the empire as the central figure around which everything revolved. Cusco, the capital, was designed to symbolize the navel of the world, with all roads leading to it, emphasizing the centrality of the empire in the cosmic order. Inca architecture was more than just a means of shelter. It was a physical manifestation of their culture, religion, and worldview. The structures they left behind not only served practical purposes, but also embodied the connection between the people, their rulers, and the divine. The legacy of their stonework endures to this day, a testament to the Incas' vision and ingenuity. The Incas' agricultural achievements were nothing short of revolutionary, allowing them to thrive in the harsh and varied terrains of the Andes. The empire's success was deeply tied to its innovative farming techniques, which included advanced terracing and sophisticated irrigation systems that enabled them to cultivate crops in the most challenging environments. Terracing was particularly essential in the high-altitude areas of the Andes, where steep mountain slopes would otherwise be unusable for farming. The Inca adapted the land to their needs by building stepped terraces that not only maximized the amount of arable land, but also helped prevent soil erosion and water loss. These terraces allowed for the cultivation of crops at various elevations, each suited to the specific climate and conditions of the region. Irrigation was another key component of Inca agriculture. They constructed intricate systems of canals and aqueducts to channel water from mountain streams to their fields, ensuring that crops received a steady supply of water despite the region's arid conditions. In some areas, they even developed underground irrigation systems that brought water to the fields through tunnels carved into the mountainside. This mastery over water management not only boosted crop yields, but also ensured the sustainability of farming in the high-altitude, often dry regions of the empire. The Inca were particularly skilled at adapting their farming techniques to the diverse ecological zones within their empire, each with its own unique climate and soil. They recognized the importance of biodiversity and cultivated a wide range of crops suited to different environments. Maize, or corn, was a staple crop that formed the basis of the Inca diet, used in everything from food to ceremonial offerings. Potatoes, another cornerstone of Inca agriculture, were particularly suited to the high-altitude regions. The Inca cultivated hundreds of varieties, and potatoes became a primary food source, providing essential nutrients in an otherwise challenging environment. Quinoa, a high-protein grain native to the Andean region, was also an important crop, prized for its nutritional value and resilience in the harsh climate. Inca farmers also cultivated other crops, such as beans, squash, and coca, which were used both for consumption and for religious and ceremonial purposes. The Inca's agricultural system was not only essential for feeding the population, but also for supporting the empire's extensive trade networks. Surplus crops were exchanged, and agricultural products played a key role in the tribute system that helped sustain the empire's vast infrastructure. The Inca's mastery of agriculture allowed them to build a civilization that could support millions of people across varied and often unforgiving landscapes. Their farming techniques were finely tuned to their environment, reflecting a deep understanding of the land, water, and climate. These achievements in agriculture laid the foundation for the Incas' political and economic power, ensuring their survival and prosperity for centuries. The Inca Empire's trade networks were a vital component of its economic and political power, stretching across vast distances and connecting diverse regions. While the empire was built upon the foundation of agricultural abundance and local self-sufficiency, trade played an essential role in strengthening the state's resources and facilitating cultural exchange. The Inca organized their trade systems with remarkable efficiency, creating a well-regulated network that allowed goods to flow smoothly from one region to another, helping to sustain the empire's vast population. The Inca state itself played a central role in regulating trade, ensuring that resources were allocated appropriately and that the needs of all regions were met. Local communities, known as islas, produced goods for their own consumption, but surplus items, such as textiles, pottery, and food, were often exchanged through a state-controlled system. The Inca government not only organized these exchanges, but also enforced laws that ensured fair trade across the empire, making it a highly structured and regulated activity. The state's involvement in trade extended beyond mere oversight. It actively directed the flow of resources through a network of roads, military posts, and trade hubs, ensuring that essential goods reached every part of the empire. Goods exchanged within the empire were as diverse as the regions the Incas controlled. Textiles, some of the most valued products in Inca society, were exchanged widely, with various communities producing intricate fabrics using wool from llamas and alpacas, as well as cotton. These textiles were highly prized for their craftsmanship, often used in ceremonial attire, royal garments, and as offerings to the gods. Foodstuffs, too, were essential commodities within the trade networks. The Andean region's varied geography made it possible to cultivate a wide range of crops, from maize and quinoa to potatoes and coca. These products were exchanged between different ecological zones, allowing each area to benefit from crops that were more suited to its specific environment. Luxury items also played a prominent role in the Inca trade system. Fine metals such as gold and silver were traded, although the Inca saw these not as currency, but as symbols of divine power. Artifacts and crafted goods like pottery, jewelry, and intricately carved figurines circulated through the empire, often reaching the highest echelons of society. These luxury items were frequently tied to religious rituals or given as tribute to the Sapa Inca, who represented the ultimate authority in the empire. In addition to exchanging material goods, the trade networks also facilitated the flow of cultural and technological knowledge. The Incas were able to share innovations in agriculture, architecture, and metallurgy through their extensive trade routes. The influence of these interactions helped shape the development of the Inca Empire, fostering a sense of unity and connectedness that spanned the entire region. Ultimately, the Inca trade system was a complex and well-oiled operation that played an integral role in the prosperity of the empire. It linked communities and regions, ensured equitable distribution of resources, and solidified the political and economic cohesion of the Inca state. The Inca Empire's economy was built upon a well-organized system of tribute and taxation that ensured the smooth functioning of its vast state apparatus. The Incas did not rely on currency in the same way as modern economies. Instead, they focused on the exchange of goods and labor. Tribute was paid by the subject populations of the empire, which were organized into administrative units called suyus, each managed by appointed officials. These groups were required to deliver goods and services to the state, ensuring the continuous flow of resources to sustain the military, religious, and political structures that held the empire together. A critical component of this system was the mita, a labor tax that required the population to work for the state for a certain period each year. The mita was not a form of slavery. Rather, it was a communal obligation, where individuals contributed labor to the empire in exchange for state-provided benefits such as land, protection, and support in times of need. These laborers worked on a wide variety of state projects, including agricultural fields, military campaigns, road construction, and the building of monumental structures like temples and fortresses. The system of mita allowed the Inca government to maintain its infrastructure efficiently while also providing for the needs of the people. In exchange for their labor, workers received food and other essentials, thus reinforcing the social contract between the empire and its citizens. This system of tribute and mita labor also played a central role in managing the empire's resources. The Inca state was able to allocate resources to areas where they were most needed, whether that was in the form of food to feed the population or labor to build roads and irrigation systems. Through these means, the Inca were able to support their military, their religious institutions, and their growing infrastructure. Local communities were responsible for producing their own food and goods, but any surpluses were taken as tribute by the state, which redistributed them to ensure no region faced a scarcity of essential resources. This system of centralized resource management allowed the Inca Empire to maintain relative stability across its vast and varied landscapes. From the high Andes to the coastal deserts, the Inca economy was not just about the flow of goods and services, it was also deeply tied to the cultural and political fabric of the empire. The labor tax was an essential mechanism for integrating the diverse peoples within the empire, as it created a sense of shared responsibility toward the state. Every subject, whether from the highlands, the coast, or the forest, had a role to play in supporting the infrastructure that allowed the empire to thrive. The mita and tribute systems were fundamental to maintaining the economic stability that underpinned the power and longevity of the Inca Empire, enabling it to endure for centuries despite its vast size and the challenges posed by its geography. Through this intricate system of taxation and labor, the Inca were able to build one of the most prosperous and enduring empires in the ancient world. The fall of the Inca Empire was the result of a series of complex factors, both internal and external, that weakened the once mighty civilization. The empire, despite its impressive military might and highly organized state apparatus, faced growing challenges that began to unravel its stability. Internal divisions, most notably a bitter civil war between the two sons of the late emperor Huayna Capac, Atahualpa, and Huasca, set the stage for the empire's downfall. These divisions weakened the Inca leadership and allowed for disunity among the various groups within the empire, creating an environment ripe for outside invasion. At the same time, the empire's vast size and the challenge of controlling such a diverse range of peoples and territories made it difficult for the Inca to maintain cohesion. The centralization of power under the Sapa Inca, though effective in many ways, also concentrated the authority and wealth in a few hands, leading to internal strife and resentment from local leaders. This instability left the empire vulnerable to external threats, particularly from the Spanish, who arrived at the most opportune moment. In 1532, Francisco Pizarro and his small band of conquistadors arrived on the Peruvian coast. The timing could not have been more fortuitous for the Spanish. The Inca were reeling from the aftermath of their civil war, and their military forces, though still formidable, were not prepared for an invasion from such a small and technologically advanced force. Pizarro, realizing the disarray within the empire, capitalized on the disunity between Atahualpa's forces and those loyal to Huasca. The Spanish took advantage of the existing political instability and quickly struck a deal with various factions, promising them power in exchange for support against Atahualpa's rule. The pivotal moment came when Pizarro captured Atahualpa in the town of Cajamarca. Despite his initial attempts to negotiate, Atahualpa was imprisoned by the Spanish. Pizarro demanded a ransom for the Inca emperor, which was paid with an enormous amount of gold and silver, but the Spanish, never intending to release their captive, executed Atahualpa in 1533. His death marked the symbolic end of Inca resistance. The loss of their emperor sent shockwaves throughout the empire, plunging the Inca people into confusion and disarray. The death of Atahualpa effectively destroyed any coordinated effort to resist the Spanish conquest. What followed was a rapid collapse of Inca power. Without their leader, and with the Spanish using advanced military tactics, including firearms and horses, the Inca were unable to mount a unified defense. Despite some sporadic attempts at rebellion, the Inca resistance could not recover from the loss of their emperor and the disintegration of their military structure. Within just a few years, the Inca Empire, once one of the most advanced civilizations in the Americas, was effectively destroyed. The Spanish, under Pizarro's leadership, had succeeded in conquering a vast empire with little more than a handful of soldiers, marking one of the most dramatic and swift collapses in history. The encounter between the Inca Empire and the Spanish conquistadors in the early 16th century was an event that changed the course of history. When Francisco Pizarro, accompanied by a small band of Spanish soldiers, arrived on the Peruvian coast in 1532, the Inca Empire was already facing internal strife. A bitter civil war between Atahualpa, who controlled the northern territories, and Huasca, who held power in the south, had divided the once unified empire. This disunity made the Inca particularly vulnerable to external threats. Though the empire had a vast and well-organized military, it was embroiled in internal conflict, and the central authority of the Sapa Inca had been undermined. The initial encounters between the Spanish and the Inca were marked by misunderstandings, as the Incas, unfamiliar with the Spanish and their weapons, initially viewed them with curiosity rather than immediate suspicion. Pizarro, capitalizing on the political instability, made strategic use of diplomacy and deception to gain an audience with Atahualpa. After luring him into a trap at the town of Cajamarca, the Spanish captured the Inca emperor in a bold move that would have profound consequences. Atahualpa, though he offered a vast ransom for his release, was taken hostage by the Spanish. His imprisonment disrupted the Inca leadership, throwing the empire into confusion. Pizarro's decision to execute Atahualpa, despite receiving the ransom, was a decisive blow to Inca morale. Without their emperor, the Inca forces, already weakened by civil war, lacked the leadership necessary to organize a resistance. The Spanish, equipped with firearms, cannons, and horses, were an overwhelming force compared to the Inca warriors, who had neither the technology nor the experience to counter the new military tactics. Though the Incas put up some resistance, their armies were unable to withstand the firepower of the Spanish and their ability to exploit the existing political divisions. The fall of Cusco, the Inca capital, was inevitable. After Atahualpa's death, the Spanish marched on the city, taking advantage of the disarray and the lack of a cohesive Inca defense. The city, once the center of the Inca Empire, fell quickly under the Spanish siege. The Spanish now controlled the heart of the empire, and the collapse of the Inca state became a matter of when, not if. Despite several attempts by Inca loyalists to rally against the invaders, the absence of strong leadership and the technological superiority of the Spanish led to the rapid disintegration of the Inca military and political structures. By 1533, the Inca Empire was effectively defeated. In just over a year, the Spanish, with a small but technologically advanced army, had destroyed one of the largest and most sophisticated civilizations in the Americas. The Inca, despite their vast resources and intricate society, were no match for the brutality, cunning, and military power of the conquistadors. The fall of Cusco marked not only the end of the Inca Empire, but also the beginning of centuries of Spanish rule in South America. The legacy of the Inca civilization endures in the heart of modern-day Peru, where traces of their once mighty empire can be found in the language, culture, and identity of the people. Although the Inca Empire itself fell centuries ago, the influence of its innovations and traditions has woven itself deeply into the fabric of contemporary Peruvian society. From the grand stone cities of Machu Picchu to the vibrant festivals and agricultural practices that continue to thrive, the spirit of the Incas remains alive. One of the most striking ways the Inca legacy persists is through the Quechua language, which remains widely spoken across the Andean region. The language, once the tongue of the Inca elite and administrators, continues to serve as a cultural bridge, uniting millions of indigenous Peruvians. Quechua's survival, despite the efforts to suppress it during colonial times, reflects the resilience of Inca heritage. Today, it is not only a means of communication, but also a symbol of indigenous pride and cultural continuity. Inca traditions, particularly those surrounding agriculture, are also a significant part of Peru's modern identity. The terraces and irrigation systems developed by the Incas are still used in many rural areas to cultivate crops, particularly in the high-altitude regions of the Andes. Potatoes, maize, and quinoa crops that were domesticated by the Incas remain central to the Peruvian diet and economy. These agricultural advancements, designed to adapt to the harsh Andean environment, continue to support local communities, reflecting the Incas' mastery of sustainable farming techniques. Inca art, with its intricate textiles, pottery, and metalwork, has been passed down through generations, often blending with Spanish and other influences. Traditional weaving techniques, particularly those used to make vibrant textiles, are still practiced by many indigenous communities, who create intricate patterns and designs that are reminiscent of those found in Inca ruins. These arts, along with pottery and jewelry, serve as both functional objects and powerful symbols of cultural heritage. Furthermore, Inca rulers and gods continue to be revered in Peruvian culture. The worship of Inti, the sun god, is revived every year during the Inti Raymi festival in Cusco, drawing thousands of visitors to celebrate the ancient traditions of the Inca. The Inca emperors, regarded as direct descendants of the sun god, are remembered for their wisdom, military conquests, and the grandeur of the empire they built. In many ways, the Incas' divine connection to the sun continues to shape the spiritual lives of the Peruvian people. Today, the legacy of the Inca Empire is not just a historical memory, it is a living part of Peru's national identity. The reverence for Inca rulers and gods, the persistence of Quechua language, and the enduring agricultural techniques all serve as a testament to the enduring strength and influence of a civilization that, despite its fall, continues to resonate through the centuries. The rediscovery of Inca cities, most notably Machu Picchu, has played a pivotal role in understanding the grandeur of the Inca civilization. Hidden for centuries from the eyes of the world, these ancient cities and their remnants were once lost to the dense jungles and rugged mountains of the Andes. When explorer Hiram Bingham stumbled upon Machu Picchu in 1911, he revealed to the world a breathtaking testament to Inca engineering and architecture. Its terraced hills, intricately designed stone buildings, and unparalleled views of the surrounding mountains have since made it one of the most significant archaeological discoveries of the 20th century. The rediscovery of Machu Picchu, alongside other Inca sites like Sacsayhuaman and Ollantaytambo, has not only captivated the world's imagination, but also brought new insights into Inca life, governance, and their spiritual connection to the land. Archaeology has been instrumental in unearthing the history of the Inca Empire, offering glimpses into the lives of the people who once ruled the largest empire in pre-Columbian America. Excavations of Inca ruins have revealed astonishing achievements in urban planning, agriculture, and art. Archaeologists have uncovered a wealth of artifacts, from pottery and textiles to ceremonial objects, each piece shedding light on the social, political, and religious practices of the Incas. Excavations of Inca temples, palaces, and fortresses have provided a clearer picture of their sophisticated construction techniques and deep connection to their environment. The Incas' ability to adapt their culture to the harsh Andean landscape is evidenced in the extensive agricultural terraces and complex water systems found in their settlements. These discoveries also extend beyond the physical remnants of the Inca Empire. They offer invaluable knowledge about Inca rituals and governance. Temples, ceremonial centers, and the remains of human sacrifice sites have allowed scholars to piece together the religious practices that were central to the Inca worldview. The layout of Inca cities, often aligned with the movements of the sun, further underscores the importance of astronomy and cosmology in their culture. Each archaeological find deepens our understanding of how the Incas lived, governed, and worshipped, providing insight into one of the most advanced civilizations in history. Preserving Inca ruins is of paramount importance to ensure that future generations can learn from and appreciate this remarkable heritage. As tourism grows and modern development encroaches on ancient sites, efforts to protect and conserve these ruins have become increasingly urgent. The International Council on Monuments and Sites, ICOMOS, and UNESCO have recognized many Inca sites, including Machu Picchu, as World Heritage Sites, underscoring their universal value. Preservation not only helps protect the physical integrity of these ruins, but also ensures that the cultural knowledge embedded in these structures and landscapes is safeguarded for future scholars and visitors. By preserving these ruins, we honor the legacy of the Inca Empire, ensuring that their achievements continue to inspire wonder and study long into the future. The global fascination with the Inca Empire has only deepened in the modern world, as people continue to be captivated by the extraordinary achievements of this ancient civilization. From their impressive architectural feats to their sophisticated agricultural systems and spiritual practices, the Incas have left a lasting legacy that continues to intrigue scholars, travelers, and historians alike. The discovery of iconic sites such as Machu Picchu and the Inca Trail has ignited a worldwide interest in their culture, making these landmarks a focal point of archaeological and cultural study. The allure of the Incas' advanced society, which flourished in one of the world's most challenging environments, has become a symbol of human resilience and ingenuity, inspiring admiration from all corners of the globe. In Peru, the influence of Inca heritage runs deep, and is central to the country's identity. The Inca Empire, with its rich cultural and historical contributions, has shaped modern Peruvian life in ways that resonate through the arts, traditions, and values of its people. The Quechua language, once the primary language of the Incas, is still spoken by millions of Peruvians today, serving as a powerful connection to the past. In addition, many Peruvian customs, including traditional agricultural practices, weaving techniques, and religious rituals, are directly descended from Inca traditions. Festivals such as Inti Raymi, the celebration of the sun god Inti, remain vibrant and are celebrated with great enthusiasm each year. These cultural continuities provide a sense of pride and continuity for the people of Peru, as they honor their ancient ancestors while navigating the complexities of modern life. The role of Inca history in contemporary cultural tourism cannot be overstated. Inca heritage has become a major driver of tourism in Peru, attracting millions of visitors each year who come to experience the awe-inspiring remnants of the Inca Empire. The Inca Trail, Machu Picchu, Sacsayhuaman, and other historical sites are among the most visited destinations in the world. For many, these sites are not just tourist attractions, but sacred places that evoke a sense of reverence and awe. Cultural tourism provides a means for Peru to share its Inca heritage with the world, while also contributing to the country's economy. It allows people from diverse backgrounds to connect with the ancient civilization and engage in conversations about its enduring significance. At the same time, this global interest in Inca culture encourages the preservation of these precious sites, ensuring that they remain intact for future generations to appreciate. In the modern world, the Inca Empire continues to be a symbol of cultural pride and historical significance. Its legacy has woven itself into the fabric of Peruvian society, creating a dynamic and evolving connection between past and present. Through cultural tourism, the Inca story lives on, bridging the ancient and the contemporary, while offering a profound reminder of the enduring power of human achievement. The Inca Empire's agricultural revolution was a defining feature of its success, allowing the civilization to thrive in the harsh and diverse landscapes of the Andes. One of the most remarkable advances was the development of terraced farming, which transformed steep mountain slopes into productive agricultural land. By carving intricate terraces into the mountainsides, the Incas created flat surfaces that could capture and hold water, providing the perfect environment for crops to grow despite the challenging terrain. These terraces not only maximized the use of available land, but also helped prevent soil erosion, ensuring the sustainability of farming practices in the region. In addition to terracing, the Incas implemented sophisticated irrigation systems that channeled water from high-altitude sources to the farmlands below. This extensive network of canals and aqueducts allowed them to cultivate a variety of crops in regions where water was scarce. The Incas grew a wide range of foods, including maize, potatoes, quinoa, and beans, all of which became staples of their diet. These crops were carefully selected and adapted to the high-altitude conditions of the Andes, allowing the Incas to ensure a steady food supply despite the unpredictable weather. The domestication of animals such as llamas and alpacas was another key aspect of the Inca agricultural revolution. These animals were invaluable to the Incas, providing wool for textiles, meat for consumption, and dung that could be used as fertilizer for the fields. Llamas were particularly important as pack animals, able to carry goods across the rugged Andean terrain, helping to connect distant parts of the empire. The Incas also raised guinea pigs, which were primarily used as a source of meat, further diversifying their food resources. Inca techniques in food preservation and storage were equally advanced, allowing them to maintain a stable food supply throughout the year, even during periods of drought or crop failure. One of their most ingenious methods was the practice of freeze-drying potatoes to create chuño, a dehydrated food that could be stored for long periods without spoiling. The Incas also stored grains, such as maize, in large, well-ventilated storage buildings, ensuring that their food supply remained secure. These storage techniques allowed the Inca state to manage food distribution effectively, ensuring that regions affected by poor harvests could receive aid from neighboring areas. The agricultural advancements made by the Incas were not just practical innovations, but also integral to their social and economic systems. By mastering the art of farming in such a difficult environment, the Incas were able to support a vast population, build one of the largest empires in history, and maintain a high level of organization. Their agricultural practices laid the foundation for the empire's growth and prosperity, ensuring that the Inca civilization could thrive for centuries before its eventual decline. The Sapa Inca, the supreme ruler of the Inca Empire, was considered to be more than just a political leader. He was believed to be the living representative of the sun god, Inti, on earth. This divine connection was central to his authority and played a crucial role in the empire's complex system of governance. The rituals that reinforced the Sapa Inca's divine status were deeply ingrained in the fabric of Inca society, helping to legitimize his power and maintain the prosperity of the empire. The Sapa Inca's authority was not only secured through military might and governance, but also through sacred ceremonies that celebrated his connection to the gods. One of the most significant of these rituals was the annual festival of Inti Raymi, a grand event that honored the sun god, Inti, and reinforced the Sapa Inca's divine role. During the festival, the Sapa Inca would emerge as the central figure, participating in a series of elaborate ceremonies, including sacrifices, prayers, and offerings to the gods. The ritual was not merely a display of power, but a reaffirmation of the ruler's sacred bond with the divine, ensuring that his rule would continue to be blessed and prosperous. The Sapa Inca's power was deeply tied to the concept of reciprocity between the ruler and the people. Inca society believed that the stability and abundance of the empire depended on the balance between human and divine forces. It was the responsibility of the Sapa Inca to maintain this balance, ensuring that the sun, the earth, and the ancestors remained favorably inclined toward the empire. This was achieved through a variety of rituals and ceremonies that were performed at sacred sites, such as the Coricancha in Cusco, the Temple of the Sun, where offerings were made to Inti and other deities. The Sapa Inca's presence in these rituals was not just symbolic. It was believed that his participation ensured the prosperity of the crops, the fertility of the land, and the well-being of his people. The divine authority of the Sapa Inca was further legitimized through the use of sacred objects and regalia, which marked him as a direct link between the gods and the people. His royal attire, made of fine textiles and adorned with gold, was a reflection of his celestial association. The golden scepter, the Inti sun disk, and other sacred relics were not just symbols of power, they were considered imbued with divine energy. These artifacts, alongside the rituals that accompanied them, served as a constant reminder of the Sapa Inca's role as a godly figure who was entrusted with the task of guiding and protecting the empire. Through these rituals, the Sapa Inca's rule was maintained as both a political and religious institution, providing a sense of stability and unity throughout the empire. His divine status was not only a personal matter, but a collective one, deeply woven into the daily lives of the Inca people, who relied on his leadership to ensure the continued favor of the gods and the prosperity of their civilization. The Inca legal system was one of the pillars that upheld the stability of their vast empire. Unlike many ancient societies, which relied heavily on written laws, the Inca system was based on oral traditions and communal values. At its core, the Inca legal framework emphasized justice that maintained social harmony and collective well-being. The focus was not just on punishing wrongdoers, but also on restoring balance within communities. This legal approach was rooted in the belief that a stable society could only thrive when the collective good was prioritized over individual interests. One of the most striking features of Inca law was the use of the mitmac system, a form of resettlement that played a crucial role in the enforcement of laws. When individuals or entire groups violated the law, they were often relocated to different regions of the empire. This strategy served multiple purposes. It helped prevent further conflict by dispersing potentially disruptive elements and promoting integration into new communities. It also served as a form of punishment while simultaneously fostering loyalty to the empire. The Micmac system was not just about exilite, it was about re-establishing order, integrating people into a new environment, and reinforcing the power of the central government. Inca judges, or Unukik, were entrusted with the responsibility of maintaining order in the empire's legal system. These judges were not simply tasked with resolving disputes, but also with ensuring that the values of the empire, particularly those concerning social responsibility, respect for authority, and communal well-being, were upheld. The judges acted as intermediaries between the people and the Sapa Inca, the supreme ruler, whose divine authority was central to the legal system. Though they enforced laws and administered justice, Inca judges operated with a strong sense of community and empathy, emphasizing the need for solutions that benefited all parties involved. Their role was not just one of authority, but also of guidance and reconciliation. Moreover, the Inca judges had a direct relationship with the people, often being chosen from the local community, making them both respected and trusted figures. Their decisions were influenced by the values of the Inca society, which prioritized communal harmony over individual retribution. In many ways, the judges were seen as upholders of Inca moral and ethical codes, ensuring that the laws served not only to punish, but also to heal divisions and foster cooperation. The legal system was integrated into every aspect of Inca life, from agriculture and trade to religious observances and military affairs. The presence of Inca judges and the enforcement of laws through mechanisms like the Micmac system ensured that justice was not a distant concept, but something that affected the daily lives of everyone in the empire. Through these laws, the Inca Empire maintained a sense of unity, stability, and order that allowed it to flourish for centuries. The Inca military was not just a tool for external conquest. It played a crucial role in maintaining internal order and preventing rebellion within the empire. The Inca Empire spanned vast and diverse territories, and ensuring cohesion among such varied regions required a strong and disciplined military force. Military presence was often deployed in strategic locations to oversee local governance, enforce loyalty to the central authority, and swiftly address any signs of unrest. This constant vigilance by the military ensured that the power of the Sapa Inca, the divine ruler, remained unquestioned. In addition to its role in maintaining order, military service had significant social and economic implications. Every able-bodied man in the empire was expected to serve in some capacity, either in active combat or in support roles, such as construction or agriculture during wartime. This widespread involvement in military service meant that a substantial portion of the population was trained in the art of warfare and accustomed to defending the empire's interests. As a result, the military service became deeply intertwined with the fabric of Inca society, influencing everything from social structures to economic practices. Economically, the military ensured the stability of the empire by controlling key trade routes and securing resources. Conquered regions were often integrated into the imperial economy, with soldiers and their families benefiting from the redistribution of land, food, and goods. Moreover, the use of the military in building infrastructure, such as roads and bridges, not only facilitated the movement of troops, but also bolstered the economic exchange within the empire. The soldiers' labor, whether in military campaigns or civil works, contributed significantly to the empire's agricultural productivity and its complex network of trade. Military leaders, particularly those who led successful campaigns or maintained stability in rebellious areas, held significant power in Inca governance. Though the ultimate authority lay with the Sapa Inca, military commanders, known as capitanes, often wielded considerable influence. These leaders were not only respected for their martial prowess, but also for their ability to manage territories, ensure loyalty, and coordinate with local populations. The success of a military leader could translate into political power, as they were trusted with maintaining order, settling disputes, and overseeing the redistribution of land and resources. In many cases, military leaders were appointed to administrative positions in the empire, reinforcing the intertwined nature of military and civil governance. Through its strategic use of the military, the Inca Empire ensured its ability to govern efficiently, prevent internal disruptions, and foster economic stability. The military was the backbone of both the empire's expansion and its internal cohesion, providing the necessary force to secure the Sapa Inca's rule and ensuring the continuous prosperity of the Inca state. The Spanish conquest of the Inca Empire brought profound and devastating changes to the culture and society that had flourished for centuries in the Andes. The once great Inca civilization, known for its advanced agriculture, stunning architecture, and complex social organization, was reduced to a shadow of its former self under the weight of European colonization. The arrival of Spanish conquistadors in the 16th century disrupted nearly every aspect of Inca life. The empire, already weakened by internal strife and the spread of disease, found itself ill-prepared to face the new, more advanced military technology brought by the Spanish, as well as their ruthless tactics. The immediate impact of the Spanish conquest was most keenly felt in the form of warfare and disease. The Inca population, which had once numbered in the millions, was decimated by European diseases such as smallpox, measles, and influenza. These illnesses, to which the indigenous people had no immunity, spread rapidly through the empire, killing vast numbers even before the Spanish could engage in full military confrontation. The destruction wrought by disease left the Inca society deeply destabilized, with entire communities weakened or wiped out, unable to resist the encroaching Spanish forces. The Inca people, whose military prowess had once conquered vast territories, were now unable to defend their land. Spanish weapons, including firearms, cannons, and steel swords, quickly overwhelmed the Inca armies. The death of the last Inca emperor, Atahualpa, after his capture and execution by the Spanish, marked the symbolic end of the Inca Empire. What followed was the systematic dismantling of Inca society as the Spanish imposed their own governance, religious beliefs, and economic systems. Under Spanish rule, the Inca way of life underwent radical transformation. The once powerful Sapa Inca, the divine ruler of the Inca people, was replaced by Spanish viceroys and encomenderos, who claimed authority over the land and its people. The Inca religion, with its many gods and ceremonies, was suppressed in favor of Catholicism, as missionaries worked tirelessly to convert the indigenous population. Inca temples and sacred sites were destroyed or repurposed for Christian worship, erasing the spiritual foundations that had underpinned the Inca state. The economy of the Inca Empire, which had been based on reciprocal exchange and communal labor, was transformed into a colonial system built on forced labor and resource extraction for European benefit. The mita, a system of labor tribute, was repurposed by the Spanish to extract labor from the indigenous population for mines and plantations. This exploitation decimated the remaining Inca population, further contributing to their collapse. Despite the overwhelming forces of colonization, elements of Inca culture survived. In the centuries following Spanish conquest, much of Inca art, agriculture, and even language was preserved, often in the face of harsh suppression. While the Inca Empire as a political entity was destroyed, its legacy continued to influence Andean culture, offering a glimpse of a proud civilization that, even in its ruin, left an indelible mark on the history of the region. In the centuries following the Spanish conquest, the Inca heritage lay dormant under the weight of colonial rule, its cultural richness often suppressed or obscured. However, as the modern world progressed, there was a growing awareness of the need to revive and protect the legacy of the Inca Empire. Today, Peru stands as a vibrant testament to the enduring strength of Inca traditions, as efforts to preserve and honor this rich cultural heritage are more crucial than ever. The revival of Inca heritage is not only a reclaiming of the past, but also a reaffirmation of the identity of the Andean people and their connection to their ancestors. In the early years of the 20th century, efforts to reconnect with Inca traditions were mostly grassroots endeavors, fueled by local pride and cultural revival. As Peru's national identity continued to evolve, a conscious effort emerged to honor the Inca legacy. Archaeological discoveries, such as the rediscovery of Machu Picchu by Hiram Bingham in 1911, sparked international interest in the Inca civilization, but it also ignited a deeper appreciation for Peru's indigenous roots. These discoveries helped catalyze a cultural movement within Peru, one that not only sought to protect physical sites like Machu Picchu, but also aimed to safeguard the intangible aspects of Inca culture, including language, art, and spiritual traditions. The preservation of Inca traditions has been woven into the fabric of modern Peruvian life, particularly through festivals, music, dance, and agriculture. Festivals such as Inti Raymi, the Festival of the Sun, have been revived as important cultural events that not only honor the ancient worship of Inti, the sun god, but also serve as expressions of indigenous pride and unity. These festivals attract people from all over the world, offering a window into the deep cultural roots of Peru and reaffirming the connection between contemporary Peruvians and their Inca ancestors. These efforts have become symbols of resistance against the erasure of indigenous identities and have sparked a movement to protect and promote indigenous languages, especially Quechua, which is spoken by millions in the Andean highlands today. Moreover, the preservation of agricultural techniques, such as terracing and potato cultivation, ensures that the ancient practices of the Inca are sustained. These agricultural innovations were crucial for the survival of the Inca Empire and are now being promoted as sustainable farming methods in the face of climate change. The Inca way of life, deeply rooted in harmony with nature, continues to offer valuable lessons for future generations. Remembering the Inca past is more than an exercise in nostalgia. It is an act of cultural renewal. It is a reminder of the resilience of the Andean people, who have faced centuries of adversity, yet continue to thrive and celebrate their heritage. The Inca legacy remains a source of strength and identity for the people of Peru, and its preservation is a vital part of ensuring that future generations can draw inspiration from the past to create a brighter, more connected future. The Inca Empire, with its breathtaking achievements and mysterious downfall, has captivated the imagination of people worldwide for centuries. Its rich history, stunning architecture, and powerful legacy have found their way into popular culture through movies, books, television shows, and media, often fueling a sense of wonder and fascination. This portrayal has shaped how we view the Incas today, both in the form of romanticized myths and occasionally distorted representations. From early adventure films to modern documentaries, the Inca Empire is often depicted as a golden civilization, full of wealth, spiritual depth, and technological marvels. Movies like The Secret of the Incas and The Emperor's New Groove have been instrumental in popularizing the image of the Incas as mysterious and powerful, with treasures hidden in the mountains and grand cities lost to time. While these portrayals are often entertaining, they also tend to romanticize or simplify the complex reality of Inca culture. The vivid imagery of golden temples, sacred rituals, and noble leaders reflects a fascination with the grandeur of the Inca civilization, but it often leaves out the nuanced struggles, political intricacies, and the everyday lives of the people who built the empire. Books have also played a significant role in mythologizing the Inca Empire. Historical fiction, like The Last Inca by Luis Francisco Tomás and The Inca Empire by Peter J. McNiven takes readers on a journey through the empire's rise and fall, weaving tales of conquest, ambition, and divine intervention. These works often paint the Incas as a majestic civilization standing on the brink of both greatness and ruin, leaving a lasting impression on the reader's mind about their untapped potential. The romanticized imagery of golden cities like El Dorado, in particular, continues to fuel the modern fascination with the Inca, even though the reality was far more complex and grounded in the practicalities of life in the high Andes. The global fascination with the Inca civilization is reflected in the countless academic and media explorations that try to unearth more about their achievements. Documentaries and educational programs like Machu Picchu, the lost city of the Incas, seek to provide deeper insights into the people behind the myth, offering a more factual account of their accomplishments, such as their advanced agricultural techniques, engineering feats, and rich spiritual traditions. These portrayals attempt to balance the grandeur of the Inca Empire with the historical facts, presenting a more complete picture of their culture. Despite these efforts, much of the fascination surrounding the Inca still centers around the mystery and allure of their lost cities, hidden treasures, and grandiose achievements. The romanticization of their history, combined with a sense of wonder about what they accomplished in such a harsh environment, continues to shape how the world views the Inca. Their empire, now reduced to ruins and remnants, remains a symbol of resilience, ambition, and mystery, inspiring fascination and awe across the globe. As long as we continue to explore their past, the Incas will remain a central and enduring subject of popular culture, their legacy living on in our collective imagination. The legacy of the Inca civilization is a remarkable testament to human ingenuity, resilience, and adaptability. From the high Andean mountains to the valleys that stretched across their empire, the Incas left behind a rich tapestry of cultural, technological, and architectural contributions that continue to resonate with us today. Their advancements in agriculture, engineering, and social organization laid the foundation for the modern world in ways that we are still uncovering. Their methods of terracing, irrigation, and crop management not only allowed them to thrive in a harsh environment, but also influenced agricultural practices in the Andes long after their empire fell. The breathtaking stonework of their cities and temples, from the iconic Machu Picchu to the massive walls of Sacsayhuaman, remains an enduring symbol of their architectural prowess, a reminder of their vision and meticulous attention to detail. Yet perhaps the most profound aspect of the Inca legacy is the survival of their identity and culture. Despite the ravages of colonization, war, and disease, many elements of Inca life have persevered in the form of language, tradition, and spiritual practices. Quechua, once the language of the Inca Empire, is still spoken by millions in Peru and across the Andean region. The reverence for the natural world, the connection between the land and spirituality, and the communal values embedded in Inca society continue to shape the lives of people in modern-day Peru. In rural areas, Inca agricultural techniques are still practiced, and their festivals, such as Inti Raymi, remain an important part of national celebrations, blending pre-Columbian and Catholic traditions into a unique cultural expression. The respect and fascination with the Inca civilization is not only reflected in the pride of modern Peruvians, but also in the global curiosity about their culture. Tourists flock to the ruins of Machu Picchu and other Inca sites, eager to witness firsthand the scale of their achievements. Scholars and archaeologists continue to study the remnants of their empire, searching for new insights into how this powerful civilization functioned, governed, and interacted with the world around it. The mysteries of their disappearance still intrigue, and the question of what might have been if the Inca had been able to withstand the Spanish conquest lingers in the collective imagination. As we reflect on the Inca's enduring contributions, we also acknowledge the indomitable spirit of a civilization that, though it no longer exists in its original form, continues to inspire awe and admiration. Their culture, technology, and architecture stand as a testament to their resilience, their wisdom, and their place in the larger narrative of human history. The Inca may have been conquered, but their legacy endures, not only in the stones and artifacts they left behind, but in the lives of the people who continue to carry forward the essence of their civilization.